Today, we're going to sound crispy. What's going on, guys? Welcome back to a new video. You probably can't see, but there's been two changes to my setup. The first is that, obviously, I have a mic stand now. This is good because I think I'm going to be clearer. Hopefully, I did some tests, and I think I've been clear. However, I don't know what happens when I inevitably start shouting, so I do apologize if anything happens negatively, because I'm very conscious of the fact that it's way closer to my face. Also, you can't really tell, and I don't really know how to fix this without breaking everything. Let's see. But the mic the mic oh, you can hear me coughing in HD. I could definitely do some ASMR. The mic stand is taped because Panda Global #sponsored product thank you HyperX sent me this super nice mic, and like the idiot that I am, when it came several months ago and I've been using it, I threw out the stuff that I didn't need, or so I thought. And one of the things that I didn't need is the thing that happens to connect my microphone to my mic stand. So now we're using tape. It's not even duct tape because we don't have any. It's Scotch tape. Shout out to my roommate for giving me some Scotch tape. It might have been my Scotch tape. It actually might have been Robbie's Scotch tape from when he lived here. I don't know. Also, does anyone know what this thing does? Because I don't know what it does. I just put it here because that's what the instructions said. Also, there were two parts of the microphone that I didn't, like the mic stand that I didn't use, so hopefully those don't matter. Anyway, what was I saying? Oh, the other half of the setup that's new is that I now have a tripod, so you can see the top of my head. Before, I was just using a stack of books. So anyway, I'm a professional YouTuber. Anyway, so let's go into some backstory. First of all, here's what you need to know. So there I was. Last week, I think it must have been, maybe, it feels like last week, I don't know. Maybe a little longer ago. I made a video where I said, I reacted to the 2014 Pokemon World Championships. It's the most famous Worlds Finals. It's maybe the most famous game of competitive Pokemon ever. And it features Seijin Park from South Korea against Jody Azzarelli from the United States. And it's the Worlds Final, for those of you who didn't watch it and don't know, that featured Pachirisu. So Pachirisu had a big impact. I feel kind of weird that I'm hiding my mouth, but maybe I like it. You have no idea if I'm smiling or not. Oh. But yeah, so it's probably the most famous Worlds Finals of all time. It's definitely the most famous Worlds Finals of all time. It's maybe the most famous game of Pokemon of all time, and I wasn't really sure how it would be received because, you know, it was one of my more serious bits of content. I gave like a really thorough analysis, but it seems like people really enjoyed it, and I got a lot of requests for me to do more of the series, more reaction videos to specifically Worlds Finals, and a lot of people asked me to react to my own Worlds Finals, which actually, surprisingly enough, I've never done. I've never done it on stream, and I've never done it in a video. So that is why we are here today. So yeah, with all that being said, this is the most important match of Pokemon of my life. Like, one of the most important moments of my life. So, obviously, I'm going to be able to give you a slightly different perspective on this match than I was on Seijin's match because I played in this match. So, of course, this is going to be told from my perspective because I was there. I hope you don't mind. I will try and be as objective as I can. But I'm going to tell you guys what I was thinking each turn and kind of the part of the story that aren't as well known or aren't known because they were only experienced by the people there at the time. So let's talk about my backstory first because that's relevant. Do we want to watch the intro to this? Hello? Might be too loud. Wait, I'm going to turn it down just in case it's too loud. We'll turn it up in a second. I don't want you guys to get your...
Not only did they make it
okay, I'm glad I turned it down.
They made it through the entire bracket, and these are the two best Pokemon players in the world at this time.
All right, and let's take...
Okay, so I think that's fine. Okay, so let's talk about just everything that we just heard, which is not much, but the first thing to note is that the commentary on this match is done by Aaron Cybertron Zhang, who I think everyone should know, and Evan Lat, who everyone who has followed Pokemon for, well, if you've followed Pokemon at all in the last, well, since I started playing 2011, you probably know Evan. Evan is a commentator. He used to be a player. Evan actually holds, Evan is the one who could have stopped me. He and I played in top 8 of Virginia Regionals 2011, my first ever tournament, and I needed to win the tournament to continue my career. And I had Emboar, and I don't remember what Evan had. I have the match slips down there somewhere, but yeah, I think I either crit him or I got a one-turn sleep. I got lucky in some way or I flinched him. I don't know. Anyway, so, and it was best of one back then, single elimination. So, Evan and I have played, and he's a great guy, really nice, and an amazing commentator. He brings a lot of excitement. I like him a lot. So, yeah, so Aaron Zhang and Evan Lat are commentating, and this is relevant because what you have to know about my relationship with Aaron is that my Pokemon journey has, in large part, been, like Aaron has been there every single step of the way. So probably most of you don't know this, but back in the day, at my first ever tournament, I won in the Masters division, the division for normally 15 and up. Aaron won in the senior division, the 11 to 14 range, or maybe 10 to 14. It's weird. And then Aaron's younger brother, Brendan, who won Worlds in 2013. Ooh, I'd like to react to that match. Let me know if you guys want to see that one. I'd like to do that one. Aaron's younger brother, Brendan, won in the junior division. So the winners of that tournament, my first ever tournament, were myself, Aaron, and Brendan. Then Aaron and I went on to a nationals, and I think Brendan got second that year. Yeah, Brendan got second that year. So it was almost the same people who won the national championships. And then none of us won worlds. And then the next year, Aaron and I won nationals again together. 2 years in a row, back to back, masters and seniors division. Like, we won together. And there was for those first 2 years, I think we only won tournaments together. I got second at worlds. He got top 8 at worlds that year. I got second at regionals. I don't remember how he did it at regionals. I don't think he won. Excuse me, though. Yeah. So, and we've been friends pretty much since day one. I mean, looking back, I'm not sure how much of it was because we kind of were linked by our performances, but we would hang out at events. I didn't have a ton of friends when I first started. Technically, I still don't have. I guess I never had a ton of friends, but I had no friends for a while. But I was always friendly with Aaron. He was someone I considered a friend even before I had a friend group. I would tag along with them. And I'm super close with Brendan as well, his younger brother. So basically, what I'm trying to say is that Aaron and my journey has been, in a lot of ways, it's been together, right? Our early careers were. Aaron started playing in 2010, I think. But even still, my early performances were all with him, and we've been friends for forever. We prepared for events together. We were in the same team more or less at nationals and at worlds. Wait, did he use that team? Now I'm actually blanking. I think he used a version of the nationals team. No, I think he brought Executor. Yeah. Wait, am I crazy? I'm totally blanking. Man, now I feel bad. Anyway, so the point is that Aaron's been a huge part of my Pokemon journey. He's a great friend, and we are. It feels like we're kind of linked in a sense. And so now let's cut to the current moment where this is gonna be a longer video, by the way. We haven't even started the match, but that's fine. It's fine. Yeah. So now Oh shoot! Hang on. Wait. Now here we are. I'm in the finals of the World Championships for the second time, and Aaron is on commentary. So, there's nobody else I would have rather had commentate during this match. So that's the first part. That's the commentary, right? Now we have to start talking a little bit more about. Let's talk about me and my perspective going into this match, right? Before we do anything else. I was in the finals before. I got second at the World Championships in 2012 with Executor and Skill Swap Cresselia with Levitating onto Heatran. It was a really cool team, and I lost to Ray Rizzo, right? And so, what you need to know going into this match, well, there's many things, but one of the things is that I realized that winning the World Championships has been a dream of mine, was a dream of mine my whole career, ever since 2011 when I started and I found out there were tournaments, and I played TCG even before I played VGC, and so it was a goal of mine, right? And there were many years, and especially 2014 and 2015, where I was very, very frustrated, and I started to feel like it wasn't attainable. The reason being is that it's fixed now, but back in the day, the way that determined who would top cut the World Championships is something called Resistance, which I personally have a deep hatred for. But what Resistance says is, okay, so let's talk about how it is right now, the top cut system. Top cut system right now says that any player who makes X and 2, normally 5 and 2 or better, will make it to top cut. And even though you might get a weird number there, the players who do better, like the XO and most of the X1s, they get to skip the first playing round, basically. So if there's a top 22, you play until there's top 16, for example. So 12 people, the bottom 12 people would play, I think, if I've done my math correctly. Stuff like that, basically. So the higher seeds are still rewarded most of the time, but you don't have to work. That's how it determines who top cuts. Back in the day, that wasn't the case. And up until 2016, this is the first year where X2 where we have an X2 cut. Basically, the way that it works is they said we're taking a top 8, so the best 8 players are moving on, and most of the time, I think almost all of the time, that's not a clean record-based cut. So it's not 5 and 1 or 6 and 1 will always move on and everyone else will not. It was 5 and 2. Let's see, at the 2015 World Championship, it was 5-2s would miss, and I think it's at 2014 it was 4-2s would miss, and so I went 5-2 and 4-2 at those events, and I finished 9th at the 2014 World Championship. So I missed because I think one of my opponents lost. If one of my opponents had won one more game, I would have made top cut, and then 2015 I was 12th, and so people with my record made top cut, right? It wasn't like I didn't have the right number of games; it was just my resistance wasn't high enough. So that was very frustrating, right? To feel like I came so close. I felt like I had it, what was in me to win both those world championships, and but because of resistance, I didn't cut. And then the tournament before this tournament, U.S. Nationals 2016. I don't remember if it was internationals back then, but it's U.S. Nationals. I prepared a lot. I was number 1 on an online simulator ladder. I was number 1 on the in-game ladder with my team. It was Dialga, Groudon, Heatran. It was a very weird team. Spoilers, it was very bad, but I was number 1 on both ladders. I was feeling really good about it. I went in, and it was my worst performance at the time. This is before I had even worse performances. It was no longer my worst performance, but I went 5-4 at Nationals, and I was really devastated, right? I knew that if I won, I might have had a chance at making day 2. I don't remember, but I felt like I prepped super hard. I felt like all the signs pointed to the fact that I could at least, do well to my standards, probably make day 2. And I didn't do well at all, right? I went 5-4. I didn't do well by my standards. Lots of people should feel good about going, like, if your goal is to go positive at an event, good for you. But I'm talking about my standards, right? Where I felt like, I've won the tournament twice before. Well, now 3 times. But I knew I had it in me, but I failed again. And so, like, I was considering quitting Pokemon because it was so frustrating to try so hard and have this goal, and not be able to reach it, and so now we're here in the finals. This is gonna be a long video, I can already tell. And I realized that this might be my last chance, right? I finished 2nd at 2012. I know that it's possible to make it to the finals, even though you feel like this is your story and this is the climax. I knew that as someone who lost in the finals, I knew I could do it. I knew I had it in me to lose. And so I realized that this would maybe cement me as one of the greatest players of all time, or I would go down as the guy who got 2nd twice. And to lose in the finals twice would be devastating. So there's a lot of pressure on this match. And on top of that, I played against Justin Karras, who would go on to become one of my best friends. At the time, I didn't know him that well. We had a really great set, and he said to me, or I said to him, I think he said to me, I'm all confused, right? I'm pretty sure he said to me, one of us said to the other one, I think he said to me, he was like, hey, whoever wins this game, like, let's win the tournament. And I said, like, yeah, okay. And so, I don't know, I'm somebody who I like to, keeping my, like doing what I say I'm going to do and keeping my word is really important to me. And the other part of this is that, and that's a match for another day, is that I played Marcus, my best friend, in top 4. And Marcus is the other person who I would say is, like, the other pillar of my Pokemon journey. He and I were a team. Like, we met in 2012 at the World Championships, and we talked pretty much every single day for years. Marcus is from Germany, and, like, so there was a 6-hour time difference, and, we would only see each other once a year for many years. But we were, like, best friends. We would talk every day, we would call, and we worked together on a lot of Pokemon stuff. And we built this team together, and this team is probably the team I'm most proud of in all my years and all my tournaments. This team is the one I'm the most proud of because we cracked a metagame that felt uncrackable, that felt really, really kind of fixed. We can talk about that in a little bit. Man, there's a lot to talk about for this one. But yeah, we had to play each other in top 4 of the tournament, and so I had knocked out my best friend from the tournament, right? And I knew that I had a lot of people counting on me. I knew I had Marcus and Justin who, were relying on me to win the tournament, and by beating them, they had placed their faith in me. And so, yeah, there's a lot like residing on this match. So I'm feeling a lot of pressure, is I guess what I'm trying to tell you.
At our competitors, starting with Jonathan. So we saw Jonathan a little bit on.
Okay, so now let's talk about the teams, because I think that's probably what people are more interested in. For a second, I thought Meowth was in my room. I was like, what is that? So, okay, let's talk about 2016 as a metagame, because that's very relevant here. Here's what you need to do about 2016. First of all, everyone hated it. The reason everyone hated it was, well, there was a lot of stuff about 2016 that was, I'm going to use the word unsavory. We had Dark Void Smeargle with Moody. Dark Void is a move that has an 80% chance of hitting each Pokemon. It hits both Pokemon, and it puts them to sleep. It's Darkrai's signature move, and it was also, for VGC, it was Smeargle's signature move. It also has Moody, which randomly boosts one stat by 2 stages, and reduces another one by 1 stage at the end of every turn. So, There was a lot of degenerate stuff. Kangaskhan Smeargle was a popular lead. You could do Fake Out and Dark Void. You could go Protect with your Smeargle and hope to get a speed or evasion boost, both of which were pretty devastating. People were in Scarf Smeargle. Justin knocked one out in top 16. And there was a team slash archetype. It was Groudon, Xerneas, Primal Groudon, and Xerneas. Xerneas is it's one of my least favorite Pokemon. It's so powerful with Power Herb. They should just ban Power Herb if they ever give us back legendaries, which I'm sure they will give us back legendaries. I'm sure they won't ban Power Herb, but they really should because it's stupid. It's a stupid thing with Xerneas. But anyway, it was called Big Six, and then people would make changes to it, and they'd call it Big B or Big C or Big D or whatever. The team originally was Talonflame, Cresselia, Talonflame, Kangaskhan, Smeargle, Salamence, Groudon, Xerneas. Yeah, Talonflame, Smeargle, Kangaskhan, Salamence, Groudon, Xerneas. And this team won everything. It won U.S. Nationals. It was super dominant in the U.S. There were variants, right? People would drop Talonflame for Cresselia, or they drop one of the Megas for Bronzong. Bronzong picked up in popularity a lot, especially around U.S. Nationals. That was Big B. You'd replace one of the Pokemon with Bronzong. I think it was often Talonflame. Aaron Traylor actually had a really cool team where he replaced Talonflame, and I think he had Cresselia, Mence, Bronzong, Smeargle. Yeah, so I guess he dropped Talonflame and Kangaskhan. Did he have Kangaskhan? I don't remember. I don't think he did. So he ran both Cresselia and Bronzong. But basically, going into this tournament, every other tournament, more or less, had felt like it was this team. This team was the best team in the format. It was discovered early on. I'm sorry, Facebook is open, but I can't respond because then you'll see my screen. So I'm sorry. So that was the team that was so incredibly dominant. It felt unbeatable, and there were times where people would beat it, and people would be like, "Oh, this team beats it," right? There was a dual primals phase. I remember actually Alex Gomez, I think, used a cool, I don't remember it exactly, but I think it was dual primals, Mega Mawile, Bronzong, if I recall correctly, and people were like, "Oh, this team might beat it," and then the Big Six team would just adapt, and they would say, "Okay, we're gonna add a Trick Room mode," or I don't actually remember the specific adaptation for how they beat it, but in the end, it felt like this team was unbeatable. This Groudon, Xerneas, Bronzong, or Double Mega, Smeargle, and then whatever. It really felt like it was unbeatable. There were so many things you could do. This is back when Kangaskhan had Power Up Punch, so you could do... and Smeargle had Follow Me, of course, and sometimes they would run Fake Out, and sometimes they'd run Crafty Shield, so you couldn't even, roar out the Xerneas or taunt the Xerneas with something faster or taunt the Smeargle. It was like the volatility and the sheer chaos and the sheer number of modes that came out of this team was ridiculous. So now I think we're almost 18 minutes into the video. I think we're ready to start talking about the specifics of the match in the Pokemon sense. So let's take a look at Jonathan's team here. Jonathan has Gengar, Mega Gengar, Bronzong, Primal Groudon, Primal Kyogre. This is the dual Primals core we were talking about. Rayquaza had some use as well, X-Ray was, I think, a thing. X-Ray's always been kind of the Garbomon composition, you add X-Ray and then 4 Garbomons and then it works. But anyway, that's not really relevant. So yeah, it wasn't like 2019 where it felt like a bunch of archetypes were viable. It felt like Groudon Xerneas was by far the best. So anyway, Jonathan's team, you can see he doesn't have a Xerneas. He has Groudon and Kyogre as his restricted Pokemon. He has Manectric, which is a Pokemon that didn't see much usage, and he has Talonflame. So I believe this team was, I want to say it was built by Gavin Michaels. I know Gavin had a big hand in it, at least. I don't know who else collaborated, so I apologize for not researching that first. But yeah, I always thought of this as Gavin Michaels' team. And it's a cool team. It has a Trick Room mode. It has two, I think, let's see, they're both pretty slow, I think, Primals. I don't know if they're mid-speed. I've forgotten. I knew at the time, I think. But the interesting thing here, in my opinion, is the Manectric and the Mega Gengar. So Jonathan's team has a couple cool things about it. He has this dual Mega option, which is really interesting. The way that this team works, as far as I can tell, as far as I remember, is... it has Mega Gengar up front, which allows trapping, and the idea of dual primals here is that, okay, Gengar has a positive matchup against Xerneas, right? So let's think about the other restricted Pokemon, and the main ones were Groudon and Kyogre, right? And the idea here is if they have Groudon, you can trap them with Kyogre in, and you can, once they're trapped, I'm almost positive, let's see, it was Protect, Will-O-Wisp, Sludge Bomb. I don't think it was Hidden Power. Wait, it might have been Hidden Power Water, or was that Eduardo? I think, I don't... wait, was it in Power... did he have Icy Wind? I feel like he had Icy Wind. I don't remember. I don't remember if he did in Power Water, but regardless, you would trap them with Gengar, you trap their Groudon on the field with Shadow Tag Gengar, and then you could go into Kyogre and KO them, either with Hidden Power Water, which I don't remember if he had, or just with Kyogre on its own. And if they had Kyogre, you could trap them with Groudon, and Groudon locking the Primal Sun up, that allowed, basically, that Kyogre could only use Ice Beam or Thunder, which isn't very, like, wasn't that common. It was kind of common, but, basically, it can't really touch Groudon outside of Ice Beam, and Jonathan had a bulky, slow Groudon for sure. So, yeah. So with that in mind, he also had this Bronzong mode, which allowed him to get Trick Room up, get Speed Control, because both his Primals were really slow and bulky. He could bring it in the back with the other Primal if he wanted. He could lead one, bring the other one in the back, depending on what he was playing against. And he could go for Trick Room and gets his Skill Swap as well on the Bronzong to reset the weather. So, and he could pass Levitate to Kyogre or Groudon, which are very dangerous abilities versus Groudon. So, yeah, that was really strong. He also had Talonflame for speed control, and Talonflame was just a good Pokemon in general. I don't know its specific role in the team. And then he had Manectric. And I'm going to be honest, Manectric I didn't really understand its place, but it was very scary in this matchup.
Stream yesterday, of course, he
we'll
has been over there in the United Kingdom, top cutting UK Nationals, and of course top 8 at
Jonathan, he's an American player, but he went to school
so
in
some experience
the UK.
over there across
he went
the
to college
pond,
in the UK.
Bringing it back
University
to
if
San
you are
Francisco.
from Europe.
He is running that dual primal team, Groudon and Kyogre, with some very interesting
Evan
techs
has any
alongside
interesting
of it.
things
The
to say here that I
Talonflame
missed?
and Bronzong we've seen quite a lot of. Gengar and Manectric, the sort of rogue options there, but Gengar we've been seeing a lot of this tournament.
Yeah, it's weird that we actually see a double.
Yeah, so Gengar is on both finals teams, as is Bronzong. Gengar was not super common at all before this. I know it top cut US Nationals, but I don't think it had much of a performance beside that.
Match in this finals here. If you asked me earlier in the season what I expected to see in terms of megas in the finals, I would have told you Salamence, Kangaskhan, those are kind of obvious.
Right.
But here, neither of those Pokemon make an appearance. Instead, both players do have that Mega Gengar, and Jonathan running that Manectric with the Mega Evolution possibility. So that's a really cool Pokemon that we haven't seen very much of in this season.
But we may be seeing it in this set coming up. His competitor will be...
Okay, so here's the other... Well, actually... Yeah, okay, we can look at my team next.
Wolfe Glick. Wolf looking for redemption after coming so close back.
Okay. This is your boy's team. Gengar, Mega Gengar, Hitmontop, Mega Rayquaza, Primal Kyogre, Raichu, and Bronzong. The idea was that there were two main modes, and this was a team that we felt solved. Solved in quotations because it was hard still. Like, certain players, like really good players, could get around it. Like, I played against William Tansley, and he realized what he had to do to win. I beat him, but he took a game off with Groudon Xerneas, which is surprising given the matchup. So we built a team. So basically, okay, we've been talking a lot about Groudon Xerneas. This video is so long. I hope you guys don't mind. We've been talking a lot about Groudon and Xerneas, right? And the problem with Groudon Xerneas and the way, like, okay, if I said my opponent's definitely going to run Groudon Xerneas, like, can you counter it, Wolf? Then I would say, sure, right? I can build a counter team if I know their exact sets, whatever. The thing is, a lot of the teams that focus hard on Groudon Xerneas would lose to the other stuff. For example, dual primals it would lose to. It would lose to X-Ray, just random stuff. Dialga. Dialga was a problem for this team. Tommy Cooleen had it, and it was a nightmare. But yeah, that was kind of the general idea. And so what this team did is it had two main modes that we didn't really deviate from very much. The first against Groudon Xerneas was Gengar Hitmontop up front, Kyogre and Bronzong in the back. The thing is, if they let Groudon get in the field in a bad position, you could trap it with Gengar like we were talking about, and then KO it with Kyogre. Hitmontop had eject button, which was really good for getting free switches into the primals, safe switches into the primals. So if Kyogre was on the field and they went into Groudon, you could switch into your Hitmontop, take an attack, and then switch back out. I mentioned I built this team with Marcus. I also built it with Brendan Zhang. I do want to say that, who got top 8 in the senior division, and he played the whole tournament because he didn't finish the Delta episode, so he couldn't Mega Evolve his Rayquaza. He was like furiously playing through it every like in between games, in between rounds of the World Championship. So yeah, he finished top 8. I think he was able to Mega Evolve in his top 8 set, but that's where he lost, unfortunately. So, and that was a big deal on this team. Being able to Mega Evolve was a huge deal on this team. So yeah, shoutouts to him. But anyway, so the first mode, like I said, Gengar Hitmontop with Kyogre and Bronzong in the back. Kyogre and Trick Room really destroyed a lot of Big Six style teams. Gengar was a lot of pressure for Xerneas. Both Gengar and Bronzong were good against Xerneas. Hitmontop had Wide Guard, and Wide Guard plus Kyogre invalidates pretty much every single Groudon set except for special ones with Earth Power or ones with weird tech moves like Thunder Punch or Thunder, which came up more in 2019 than it did in 2016. But yeah, Hitmontop also provided Fake Out support and Feint. We had Fake Out, Feint, Close Combat on Wide Guard, no Helping Hand. But yeah, we had basically there was a flowchart. I probably still have it memorized. Yeah, I think I still have it memorized. Versus Groudon Xerneas teams, where we had figured out basically the optimal move to make every single turn before the match started, but like against all common leads that Groudon Xerneas teams would do, and against standard stuff. So, yeah, so basically we worked really hard in the Groudon Xerneas matchup. The other mode that was interesting was the Raichu, Kyogre, Hitmontop, Rayquaza in pretty much any order. This mode was really strong against a lot of other teams. Rayquaza was Focus Sash, Raichu was Assault Vest. It offered speed control and Fake Out. We had 2 Fake Out users. This is before Psychic Terrain was a thing, so that was a pretty strong strategy. We used our Fake Out users really well. Kyogre and Rayquaza both benefit a lot from Intimidate from Hitmontop, as does Raichu, truthfully. Raichu has Volt Switch, which there's a lot of switching potential here. You can overwrite dual primal teams. Like Rayquaza Kyogre are really good against dual primal teams as long as they don't have Mega Gengar. Yeah, so those are the 2 kind of main modes here. Hitmontop was kind of a niche pick. Raichu didn't have a ton of usage, especially with the Assault Vest. Yeah, and like we said, Gengar was not a super common Pokemon either. The other thing is that the Ray Ogre archetype hadn't really been explored to this extent before. Most people used Ray Ogre. Some people ran it with Scarf Kyogre, but that was kind of rare. But mostly it was an offensive team, right? You would use it very offensively, and this team focused a lot on defensive and smart switching. And yeah, like getting your key pieces in the right place. That was the main goal here. Let's see what they have to say about it.
Runner
It was 5 times world competitor. Well, technically 6 times at the time.
5-time regionals champion, 2-time national champion, multiple-time worlds competitor as well. His team is going to be the Rayquaza Kyogre core alongside the Gengar, Raichu, Bronzong, and Hitmontop. And you really can't overstate how much it would mean to Wolfe, who has been spending so much of his time trying to get to Worlds and just falling short.
Absolutely, and I think if you look a little bit at Wolfe's accomplishments compared to Jonathan, I think this is Jonathan's first finals of a regional, national, or Worlds tournament. Wolfe has won, I believe, like 5 regionals, 2 nationals, and he's played in so many Worlds top cuts, and so he has so much experience to draw from. He's been in this exact position before multiple years ago, and he knows what it takes to win in that final.
I think I lost that water bottle at that tournament. No, wait, no, I lost it in London.
Experience in that regard, but once again,
we're 2 minutes into the video and 27 minutes into my video. I'm sorry.
Him. He fought through one of the most difficult fields I've ever seen in the history of the game, and he's here in the finals. He's got a good shot to make a name for himself. You know, he's in that underdog position, but if he's able to take the glory and he's able to beat Wolfie, that would just mean so much for him. You know, you can't be world champion unless you're beating the best of the best, and Wolfe is that best of the best.
Yeah, I mean,
by the way, okay, wait, real fun trivia fact. This is my handler. That when you're in the finals of the World Championships in 2016, not in 2012, they give you like a handler. So I just hung out with this nice man all day. It was very nice.
Kind of wonder which position you'd rather be in. Sort of Wolfe has all these expectations. He is supposed to
Thank
win
you, Evan.
this matchup,
Evan gets
right?
it.
I mean, he has all of that experience. He should be the person who takes this game, but Jonathan sort of freed from the expectations game there. Happy to be in finals, and that can be very dangerous for
There's
a player
one more
like
piece
Jonathan
I want to talk about before we start.
Team.
Absolutely, and I think if you look at the matchup, it's definitely something that Wolfe probably appreciates a little bit more. So I'm so excited.
Don't click on
that
link. I don't know where it sends you.
This is the match of the year.
Yeah, it is the
Man, this is good music. Do they always have this good music?
PGC 2016 match.
All right. So here's the last thing you need to know. Jonathan and I played yesterday. And by yesterday, I mean not yesterday. Literally, I mean yesterday, day 2 of the World Championships. We were both 5-1, so the winner would not have to play a play-in round, and the loser would probably have to play a play-in round. So we played the day before. Both games, he led Gengar Kyogre into my Raichu Kyogre, which is my default lead against the dual primals team, and both games he hard switched into Groudon turn 1 and protected, I think. Yeah, that would make sense. Or maybe he didn't protect, but he basically, I went for, I think, Volt Switch Water Spout into the Kyogre both games, and it felt like a 50-50, right? Because if he goes into Groudon and I switch my Raichu out into Rayquaza, I can Water Spout and no-code the Groudon, right? So I can get that read right. But if I'm wrong and I switch into Rayquaza, I take a lot of damage, which is super bad. And on top of that, I guess the main problem with that is that if Jonathan goes, like, let's say I Volt Switch the Kyogre and Water Spout and he switches to Groudon, both my attacks are wasted. And if Gengar goes for like a Sludge Bomb, for example, then next turn he can go protect Precipice Blades, and it's very hard for me to stop Groudon from just, KOing my Raichu, and I go down immediately. So I think that happened in actually one of the Swiss games. And so what I did is I had to Volt Switch myself to break the lock and then Origin Pulse from there. And even then, it's not great. And the other option, of course, is that let's say I get the 50-50 wrong on the other hand, and I predict him to go into Groudon, and I switch my Raichu out into Rayquaza, and he just Water Spouts, or even worse, Ice Beams, or I take a lot of damage on Rayquaza. I lose my Focus Sash, which is kind of important because I need Rayquaza around to the late game to beat Kyogre with its damage output, because it was kind of one of the only ways of hitting Kyogre for a lot of damage, and also to protect my Kyogre from or allow my Kyogre to KO Groudon. So, yeah. And here's the thing. So I was thinking about it the day before, and this is probably gonna be a long thing, and then we can actually start the match. So it's the night before, and I'm thinking about the matchup, and I realize, okay, let's say the leads are the same. Let's say, because my instinct still says lead Raichu Kyogre. If I lead Raichu Kyogre, and he leads with Kyogre Gengar, which he did both games of Swiss, and I feel in my heart that he's gonna do, then what he can do is he can Mega Evolve turn 1 with Gengar and switch to Groudon, right? Now, this turn 2, I have an option. He can Mega Evolve and protect with the Gengar and switch to Groudon, right? Now, I can cover for that by Volt Switching Gengar turn 1 and Water Spouting, kind of making a mid-ground play, right? Saying, I don't think you're going to switch Gengar out into Groudon because then your Kyogre can't do damage, and if you switch your Kyogre into Groudon, then next turn I can do the same play again. I can Volt Switch and Water Spout into Gengar, and now you can't protect yourself, right? So the only way that play fails is if he protects Kyogre, or he protects Gengar turn 1 and stays with Kyogre and does a lot of damage to my Raichu, which is kind of fine. However, here's what I realized, and this is what we talked about a little bit earlier. Jonathan, I've only named 3 of the Pokemon that I expect him to bring in this scenario. The 4th Pokemon could be Manectric, and if the 4th Pokemon is Manectric, then let's go back to the Groudon example. Turn 1, Gengar protects, Kyogre switches into Groudon, both my moves fail because I'm going for Water Spout and Volt Switch, Origin Pulse and Volt Switch. Turn 2, I say, okay, Groudon's on the field. I can just Volt Switch the Gengar and Water Spout. Gengar's Mega Evolved. I can go into Rayquaza here and KO the Groudon. What if he switches to Manectric and Precipice Blades? Now, I've given Manectric into special attack boost. I've lost my Raichu, and my Kyogre's taken a ton of damage. And now I'm in trouble. Now I'm in huge trouble. And so, I realized that because of this sequence, I cannot lead with Raichu Kyogre. Because if I do and this happens, then I will lose. And I say, I do not want to bet this game on a read. I don't want to bet this game on a turn 1 50-50 read. That feels really bad to me. And keep this in mind because it's going to influence a play at some point in the set. So, let's keep that in mind. So I think to myself, okay, I can't lead Raichu Kyogre. What can I do? Because I really want Raichu on the field because I really want the Volt Switch pressure, right? And I really want the Fake Out pressure as well. That helps me a lot in this matchup. So I say, okay, what? And I'm thinking about it, I'm talking with Marcus. Marcus falls asleep. This is the night before. And I think to myself, all right, what if I led Rayquaza Kyogre? Which I never did. I never led Rayquaza Kyogre. But I think, what if I led Rayquaza Kyogre? Because what this does is it puts him in a weird position, right? Because the switching Groudon play, keep in mind that Rayquaza doesn't start out Mega Evolved, so Groudon can't switch in on this. Like, he's not going to switch Groudon in this turn 1 in front of frickin' Rayquaza Kyogre. There's just no way he does it, right? Because if I go for any water move, which is obvious, like I think water move and Dragon Ascent into the Kyogre is the obvious play, he would lose Groudon and probably the set, and he's not going to gamble that. And Gengar doesn't start out Mega Evolved either, so I can still switch turn 1. So what I can do is I can actually switch Raichu in turn 1 into the Rayquaza slot, which then allows me Raichu turn 2, which is what I want, but I ensure that Groudon's not in the field. So this then sets me up for the and I get to get some damage off with Kyogre as well, which means that yeah, I can put myself in a good position, and I might take damage, like with my Raichu, maybe I take an Ice Beam, and that lets me Endeavor stuff, which is threatening, so, yeah. This also means that I don't have to rely on Origin Pulse, which is also a problem, like, because the idea is that if I hit Gengar with a Water Spout, turn 1, sorry, I know this is probably more in-depth than you guys care about, but I'm going to talk about it. So basically, okay, if turn 1 Gengar attacks, like in this scenario, then it takes a Water Spout, and then it is in Ice Beam range, so I don't have to worry about Groudon switching in turn 2. Like, I can Ice Beam if I want and do something with Raichu, and I don't have to worry about, like, wasting that attack. And yeah, I could still end up in the same situation, but it's slightly better for me because I get damage on Gengar, and I can threaten to KO on Gengar. And a Water Spout might KO as well if he goes for, like, if he Will-O-Wisp. He definitely had Will-O-Wisp, but if he Will-O-Wisp my Rayquaza, or if he Sludge Bombs or, like, Icy Winds my Rayquaza. I can't remember if he had Icy Wind. I think he did, though. I don't think he had Hidden Power Water. I don't remember. I feel like he did, though. I don't know. Maybe he didn't have Protect. No, he definitely had Protect. I definitely saw Protect. Yeah, so that was the idea there. And I figured, like, I wasn't really worried about any other lead because, like, leading Bronzong wasn't threatening, leading Manectric wasn't threatening since I had Raichu. Like, Manectric wasn't good offensively, it was only good as a Volt switch in. So, yeah. Did I mention we played the day before, and so I think I got started on this, but we played the day before. It was very close. It was very down to the wire. And I narrowly won 2-0, but I knew the matchup was going to be tough. So I think that's everything I wanted to say. My general game plan was get through the early game, get some damage on Gengar, and then go from there with my superior like bulk and switching ability. I guess my bulk wasn't that superior, but the switching ability was, and the fake out pressure. So
after this match,
yeah.
It will be time for the next season of the Video Game Championships, and we are ready to get right into game one of the finals. Jonathan Evans versus Wolfe Glick.
There's my
in
team
preview. Wolf's team, of course, we are.
And I didn't mention it, but the last Pokemon is Hitmontop in this matchup.
With the
for Groudon and for Intimidate and for Eject Button.
Up against Jonathan's dual Primal.
And Wide Guard. Wide Guard was
now,
really
I mentioned
good.
it just a little bit, but we haven't seen the Manectric. But against this Rayquaza Kyogre core, have to like Manectric here.
Yeah, you know, Manectric is a tempting call, and it's really cool because we see two Electric-type Pokemon in the Raichu and the Manectric on both sides of the team. Both of those, of course, do have the ability to redirect Electric-type attacks away with Lightning Rod, so that could be really crucial. As we've seen Wolfe play on stream throughout the course of this weekend, he's really utilized that Raichu to use his Electric-type attacks. For example, that Volt Switch to swap out and bring in something new like a Hitmontop or like a Rayquaza. Also, Nuzzle is a big deal. The ability to paralyze Pokemon and shut them down and make them significantly slower is, really significant.
Yeah, Nuzzle was really big.
Both teams are
Nuzzle's huge, actually, especially for Gengar. Or, like, pretty much in general. Paralysis is broken.
Primal mirror matches come down to who has the faster version of the Kyogre or the Groudon, and having that speed control in paralysis can be very important.
Man, Fake Out was broken back
this
year. I forgot how good Fake Out was.
Speed on his own side. Of course, he does have that Talonflame, which is very well known for Tailwind. And of course the Bronzong, so can run that Trick Room as well.
Here we go.
Double handshake. We've already shaken hands. That's handshake number 2.
Game 1 between Wolfe Glick and Jonathan Evans. This is for the World Championship in the Masters Division.
This music is so good.
Players.
I forgot about this.
All right, the crowd is on both of these players' side. Wolfe will go ahead and lead both restricted Pokemon, the Kyogre and the Rayquaza on his side, while Jonathan will go ahead and lead his own Kyogre.
Here's the other thing. Here's the other thing. I knew that Jonathan was expecting me to lead Raichu Kyogre because I did it both Swiss games, and I just felt it in my heart that it was true that he expected Raichu Kyogre. And so the other reason I wanted to lead Rayquaza Kyogre is because Jonathan would have had all night to make a game plan, right? And just like I did, and I knew he was going to lead Kyogre Gengar. However, I knew that if I led what he expected me to lead, then he would be able to prep for it. So I knew that the other advantage of leading Rayquaza Kyogre is that he would have had his whole game plan, and he only has, let's see. So we've seen he probably has a minute from this point because he has 45 seconds plus this animation to figure out what he wants to do. And so rather than having the whole night of prep like I had to think about the lead matchup, he only has a minute.
Which is definitely something I don't think I've ever seen both of those Pokemon out as a lead.
Yeah, as Evan says,
pretty unique lead in the sense that normally you lead with Kyogre and then you keep Rayquaza in the back to allow you for the potential switch-ins here. With Rayquaza out, the water type attacks will do less damage because Airlock is activated. However, it also means that if
I guess I didn't really want to talk about this, but I'll mention it really quickly because it is kind of relevant in this set. At the time, Jonathan and I weren't on great terms. I don't really want to use my platform to badmouth people, so I don't really want to get into it. And, like, this is many years ago as well. But Jonathan's a very vocal player. Like, you'll notice throughout I'll try and move. I'm going to move myself so I don't cover my face cam because that's kind of also nice. But, yeah. So, basically, Jonathan's a very vocal player, but because we had beef at the time, I could actually cover my mic if I wanted. Because we had beef at the time, I didn't feel bad ignoring him, and I think that helped me a lot in this set. So, I'm going to move myself here. Hopefully it doesn't bother anybody. So yeah, because I remember even in the early turns, I think he will speak to me, and I will tell you. So the face cams are also relevant.
So you've got to be worried a little bit about that. Given that we see the Gengar here, it's...
So the other thing is that, so Jonathan has revealed Gengar at this point. This is going to be a long video. So we know that Jonathan, normally showing Gengar would mean he doesn't have Manectric, and showing Rayquaza for me would mean that I don't have Gengar. So that's the other information that we learned this turn 1. These are assumptions, but they're probably true in this. It's pretty clear I don't have Gengar. If I have Rayquaza, he could have Manectric, like we mentioned, like we talked about. And then we see that my Kyogre Primal reverted first, which means I'm faster than him.
Most likely, that Manectric isn't going to make an appearance, unfortunately.
Man, Aaron and I are on the same
Gengar,
wavelength.
of course, does threaten Rayquaza immensely with a Will-O-Wisp. We've seen that this is a physical Rayquaza that relies kind of on Dragon Ascent and Swords Dance. Also has that nifty Focus Sash item. So by being able to burn it, not only do you get rid of the Focus Sash, essentially, you also make sure that its damage output is significantly decreased. But Wolf has a lot more offense going on his side right now. Even if Rayquaza gets burned, he can still get a lot of damage off.
Yeah, so Rayquaza may be able to get the damage off after the burn. Jonathan, with that Kyogre and Gengar, putting a little bit of offensive pressure, but definitely nowhere near as much as the double restricteds on Wolf's side.
You know, it's funny because it felt like Jonathan did a lot more like offensive pressure to me at the time because I knew I was switching in Raichu and I knew that Raichu was a lot like more vulnerable here. But yeah, I agree with the commentators where just like on the face of it, it does kind of look like I'm the one exerting offensive pressure when really I feel like I'm in a defensive position. So this turn 1, by the way, just since I paused anyway, I'm going to use Water Spout. The reason is that I didn't want to lose the World Championships to an Origin Pulse miss. I also knew there was a chance that Gengar would attack Rayquaza here because he could double into it and potentially knock it out. Yeah,
you got to remember, like, Gengar here could
okay,
just
let's watch the face cams. Raichu comes in.
Pulse, but Rayquaza here actually going to swap out.
Yeah, so Wolf doing what Wolf does best.
He says something, I don't remember, but I don't say anything.
Jonathan's
Let's go fast, Wolf.
And Mega Evolve Gengar, so keeping both of his Pokemon in this first turn. Mega Gengar now trapped.
Sludge Bomb. Okay, so Jonathan makes a good move here. He hits my Kyogre. The other reason I had to switch to Rayquaza at turn 1 is because with Airlock on, my water moves were weaker, and I was really trying to get rid of this Gengar turn 1. Because if he attacks if he Will-O-Wisp Rayquaza, or if he Icy Winds, or if he Sludge Bombs Rayquaza, any of those moves, then Water Spout will KO.
Sludge Bomb onto Kyogre,
no poison, but does a lot of damage. There's the Water Spout.
Back to it, weakening this Water Spout a little bit. Not going to deal enough to Kyogre. Gengar
Hangs on
actually
barely.
will survive because of that.
And he goes for Thunder, so I was really surprised by that. That was not a read. I was like, it's the finals of the World Championships. He's not going to go for Thunder in Airlock. It's only 70% accurate, right? If he misses, he wastes his whole turn. Like, there's no way he goes for Thunder turn 1. That wasn't a read. I had never considered him going for Thunder in Airlock because it's not consistent. But it works out.
Will take that Thunder.
It wasn't a read. It just looked like
boosted
one.
Special attack.
Yeah, I do want to say that's already a pretty risky play from Jonathan. You know,
and that powers up the Volt Switch a lot.
Airlock ability, and so with Airlock up, the rain is technically negated and Thunder is no longer 100% accurate. So maybe Jonathan trying to gamble.
So this turn 1 goes pretty in my favor. I only take a little bit of damage. I get Raichu in for free, and I got a little bit of chip on Kyogre, which is actually relevant because Rayquaza actually does a lot with Dragon Ascent, and Jonathan doesn't have Intimidate, so it's pretty relevant. And then Gengar's almost KO'd, which is really good. I would have liked to get rid of it turn 1, but
going for
we'll
that
take
play,
it.
but Wolfie says, nope, I'm not going to let you get that Thunder. I'm going to bring in Raichu. Gengar is able to survive, and, you know, I like
Remember that Manectric interaction we talked about? I think that's about to be relevant. I get my games confused sometimes. I remember game 2 better,
knock
but
that out, you know, you're in a really good position to win the game right from the start. So he gambled a little bit, didn't go in his favor, but you can respect that play for sure.
Yeah, and Gengar,
if he got the Sludge Bomb Thunder, he would have been in a great position. If he gets rid of Kyogre, he probably wins. So I don't disagree with it that much in hindsight.
Another attack this turn if it wants to, or even just switch back out and switch back in for Will-O-Wisp threat later on Rayquaza.
You got to remember, you could switch in Groudon here. You know, Kyogre could go into Groudon. Gengar does have the trap up, and that's actually really, really helpful.
Okay, so he goes into Groudon here. This is the play we were talking about. It's exactly like turn 1. The difference is that Gengar has damage, and my Kyogre has a little bit of damage as well.
Land and block any water type attacks.
Everyone remembers the Manectric interaction. Hands in my wait. Let's rewind. Watch my body language here.
Block any water type attacks. Gengar now alongside
hand in hair,
Groudon,
that stress gesture.
For an attack here, may try to protect itself to ensure that Wolf's Pokemon are both trapped here with the Groudon for at least one turn.
Hand still in face.
Raichu can always Volt Switch out, so Gengar will go for the protect. So no damage being taken by Gengar right now. Raichu goes for the Fake Out, will connect with the Groudon, but just dealing a little bit of chip damage there.
Okay, so there what I tried to do is make a mid-ground play. I said, okay, Kyogre might stay in, probably not, but it might, so I'll Fake Out just to be sure. And just in case you go into Groudon, I'll Ice Beam your Gengar to make sure that I KO it as long as you don't protect, but your reveals protect.
Into the protect. So at least for one turn, Raichu and Kyogre are trapped in here with
And
Groudon.
now, let's remember what we were talking about Manectric. So, even though Gengar has some damage here, so Jonathan knows that if I go for, like, my obvious play here is Voltage the Gengar and Water Spout. I Voltage into Rayquaza. My Kyogre is faster than his Groudon. We learned this yesterday, or I knew it somehow, but I'm pretty sure we learned it yesterday. And there's nothing he can do about Voltage into Gengar and Water Spout into both Pokemon, and I threaten KOs in both Pokemon. But here's what Wolfe Glick is thinking at the time. Crap. I ended up in the situation that I didn't want to end up in. because stupid Manectric gets to come in now, and I really don't want that. I really don't want Manectric to come on the field and be annoying. And if Manectric is in a Gengar here, and I go for that play I just told you about, Volt Switch boosts Manectric's special attack, which is relevant because Precipice Blades KOs my Raichu and puts my Kyogre low enough that it's definitely in range of a +1 Thunderbolt. And now I don't really have anything left that can beat Kyogre, and I don't have any damage on Groudon, and I would need to rely pretty heavily on Swords Dance with Rayquaza, and I probably just don't have enough to win the game, right? And so what I realized is I cannot go for Volt Switch here. I don't know his last Pokemon. I can't go for Volt Switch Water Spout because
deal, right? I think that Jonathan, this
I might just be in huge trouble. So I say, okay, I think he's going into Manectric here with Gengar, and then he Precipice Blade. So the only thing I can really do to punish that is protect and Endeavor. Protect the Kyogre and Endeavor the Groudon, get some damage off, don't give it a boost, and go from there.
Could come in. So I guess the Volt Switch option kind of negates the fact that the trap is so imminent here.
But what if Manectric's in the
There we
back?
go, Evan. Yes, Evan, thank you.
That would actually...
Regular Manectric.
Right, and even though as
exactly
crazy as that sounds, it actually does have a lot of use here. You know, if you are able to bring in that Manectric, for example, swap Gengar into Manectric, Groudon gets the Precipice Blades off, or just a really strong attack off in general. Pick up the
exactly.
knockout,
Okay,
do a lot of damage on the Kyogre, and the sun is still up. So regular Manectric would actually be so great to see here. It's swapping out. Here's Gengar going out.
Gengar is going to switch out, and it will be Bronzong.
Okay, and then I see it's Bronzong. So now I know there's no Manectric.
Will be the switch for Jonathan. Once it protects.
So Jonathan doubles out here. He goes into Kyogre.
Going to switch both Pokemon out. So the Sunlight will fade, and
I'm
Kyogre
entirely
will come
sure
out for Jonathan in place of Groudon. So having put himself in that position,
it looks like he realized he made a mistake. I think I actually, honestly, I don't know, but I think what he was thinking is that he switched Groudon in to overwrite the rain, so like my water moves are weaker. But I think based on his body language there, like he reacts when he sees Primordial Sea. I have a feeling he forgot that like the rain would be reset when he brings in his own Kyogre.
A free turn here.
But I go for Protect.
Wolf opts to use Protect.
He's
on
confused
Kyogre
by that, as
for
you can see.
Turn, while Raichu is going
And
to
I get
use
Endeavor
and will connect with
Doesn't do much
Kyogre on the
damage.
switches,
Does a little
but
bit of damage. It's
dealing
not
that
bad.
much damage because
So basically, if I had gone for Volt Switch and Water Spout there, I probably would have won the game. I could have gone into Rayquaza. I could have gotten a ton of damage off. Like on Bronzong, I definitely would have put in range of another Water type move, and then I could Dragon Ascent, Water Spout, and just win the game from there. But instead, we're still playing.
Full health, did not take a Precipice Blades.
But I don't disagree with the play at all.
Yeah, so I think if I'm Jonathan, I'm not. I'm okay about that.
Yeah.
Kyogre doesn't take too much damage. I'm still in an okay position.
Here's the situation this turn. I am boosted Raichu. If I Volt Switch the Kyogre and Water Spout here, then I will put Kyogre in range of Extreme Speed, and Jonathan knows that. So he could Protect, and if he protects and gets Trick Room up, I might be in trouble with Raichu. I don't think I take an Origin Pulse plus Gyro Ball. Yeah, so
Raichu does have an increased stage of special attack, of course, but we've
so basically, is Jonathan going to protect his Kyogre here or not? Because he is threatened by Volt Switch here, for sure. Because I'm +1. Volt Switch plus Water move is going to be doing a lot of damage.
Here is an interesting pick, and ultimately, we didn't see Electric type attack come. We didn't see that Volt Switch, and Bronzong here instead of the Manectric makes sense here. We got to wonder what exactly this Bronzong.
You can see Jonathan's taking the full time. I think he was considering a timer in one condition as well in this game. I actually know he was because he wrote a report about it, or like he wrote a report and he mentioned it in the report.
I'm pleased about my position right now.
Yeah, you have to wonder if Jonathan will be
Volt just comes out, he doesn't protect. I hit the Bronzong, yeah, I agree with that.
Raichu does Volt Switch this time.
Does like actually a good chunk of damage, 54 damage, it's not bad.
From
now I can either go into Hitmontop,
more damage than
activate the eject button, or, because I take an Origin Pulse, or I can go into Rayquaza, and which is really who I want to be in, but I don't think I want to lose my Sash, so I have a feeling I go Hitmontop. Yep, Hitmontop comes in.
It will be the Hitmontop in the back, so Wolf very much favoring the Hitmontop.
Intimidate's nice for Gyro Ball as well, because Jonathan actually wants to use Gyro Ball with Bronzong. I go for Water Spout. The reason is I don't want Origin Pulse to miss.
Kyogre is faster.
It actually almost KOs, so I think if I went for Origin Pulse there, I probably would have KO'd Bronzong and been in a good spot. Although I'm actually not sure if KOing Bronzong. Oh wait, yeah. I probably would have won the game as well if I went for Origin Pulse and connected, but
Bronzong hangs
yeah.
on with 8 HP. Origin Pulse connects.
Origin Pulse comes out.
Hit Wolf's Pokemon. Is it going to be enough to pick up a KO on Hitmontop?
Yeah, maybe for that. Hitmontop survives. Eject button's out.
Red health. And
so I wonder if I go Raichu or if I go Rayquaza here.
While Kyogre taking a little bit of extra damage as well. So
the thing is, like, when I Volt Switched, I knew I had to go into either Hitmontop or Rayquaza, and so I didn't want to go into Hitmontop or Rayquaza because I wanted my Sash intact. Having Sash intact is really important here. So I have a feeling it's... it could be Raichu here. It could definitely be Raichu here.
But You know, in
Gengar
this,
can't switch in safely because it's
in
at such low
potentially
health
Trick
as
Room
well. That's
coming
why
up,
that turn was
maybe
important
you
as
want to
well.
bring in that Rayquaza for priority.
Yeah, this has actually been
This is
a
gonna be a long
really,
video.
really close game.
How much
It
are we
felt
at?
like, oh, maybe Wolf can
50
take it away
minutes?
here. But, we've seen some clutch survivals. Both Gengar
Oh,
and
boy.
Bronzong just survived.
That's alright. You guys are more time than
low
normal,
HP.
probably.
And you gotta
But I have
imagine
more time than
Gengar here
normal.
can actually play a huge role in terms of finishing off Pokemon and knocking things out.
Yeah,
There is
Aaron's right.
variety from Wolf,
I can't
but
pick
it's
up
Fake from him on top and extreme speed from Gengar.
And
Right,
Fake
so
Out,
neither
yeah.
of those, extreme speed from Rayquaza, excuse me. So neither of those can actually hit the Gengar.
Yeah, Aaron's
because,
actually
of
that's
course,
actually a really
that
good
is Ghost type.
observation. Trick Room goes up,
Trick
so
Room go up.
Trick
Yeah.
Room is set up, and Rayquaza is the switch in for Wolf. So Bronzong twisting the dimensions now. Jonathan's Kyogre will be the fastest.
So this is a weird position. Jonathan can't switch anything in here to an extreme speed, but he can get an Ice Beam off. He could also get a Thunder off if he wanted. He could Thunder here if he wanted, yeah. So basically, Jonathan can't go into Groudon here, or he could go Groudon, but it'd be really risky because if he goes into Groudon here and and he goes for Thunder and Kyogre goes for a Water move, then Groudon just dies, which is bad. And he probably loses because Bronzong's low HP. Bronzong is in Fake Out or Faint or Extreme Speed range. Gengar's at really low HP and Trick Room is up, so it's in range of everything. And Kyogre's damaged as well. So his only really healthy Pokemon at this point is Groudon, and he really needs it to win this game, especially in Trick Room. So he can't go Groudon here. He doesn't want to go into his Gengar because it will just drop, and then Bronzong is, it's still vulnerable at some point, and Kyogre's almost in Extreme Speed range as well. And so what's he gonna do here? And I'm thinking in the moment, and I'm thinking, all right, I think he has two options. Either he Gyro Ball Ice Beams into my Rayquaza, I think that's option number one, or I think he goes for maybe Thunder into Kyogre and tries to get the KO, and maybe then he switches out into Groudon. Or maybe he switches one of his Pokemon out, somehow. I think switch to Groudon Thunder is the other option. And so,
Primal
with that
or
in mind,
Pokemon on the field.
I realize what
Bronzong
covers all of
at
those
8
options
HP,
is
pretty
protect
bulky, but
Rayquaza
still
and switch to
probably
Raichu.
not likely
He's
to
not going to go for a
survive
Water
extreme
move,
speed
even if he
there.
does. He
Right,
can't KO
and,
my
if
Raichu
you're
with how much health I have
Wolf, you
left.
gotta,
I'm not in danger of
do
getting
I go
KO'd,
for the
basically, so it's
extreme speed
pretty
on
much a
Bronzong?
safe
Because
move.
if I do, then the Kyogre and Jonathan's then is just free to get
And
his beam off. And
if I get
Kyogre
Raichu in, then I can
even
fake out
knock
Kyogre next turn and
Kyogre
Swords Dance,
Jonathan's
and then
right
I
now
can Extreme Speed
Rayquaza's
Kyogre for the
airlock is
KO.
up, and that
which is
means
really
that,
good.
Here Rayquaza is either going to negate the rain through its airlock, or if it Mega Evolves, also going to negate the rain. So water type attack damage is decreased.
So even though I was threatening immediately a KO on either Pokemon with my Pokemon, because I could have Dragon Ascended Kyogre for the KO or Extreme Speeded Bronzong for the KO, I realized I'm not in a rush, right? And also I can waste Trick Room turns, which is probably in my favor, since both his primals are slower than both my restricteds.
I think he was able to really make some good plays so far to at least give himself an advantage.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, well, Wolf will retreat his Kyogre.
I reacted, he
Kyogre's not going to
reacted.
deal any damage
Yeah,
here.
he reacts, shakes his
Raichu will
head.
be the
Okay.
play. So Raichu back on the field.
protect.
Rayquaza with a protect here.
Gyro Ball
just
Thunder is a
trying
solid
to
play
get
as
some
well.
switches around,
Gyro
get the
Ball
fake out
into
to stall
and then
out
Thunder.
this.
I think is what he did.
Trick
Yep.
Room
Okay.
Kyogre
Cool. So
does
another
go for
Thunder into Lightning Rod.
Again. So Raichu will pick
It
that
wasn't
up
like a hard
once
read,
more.
it just covered the
Another
option,
special
you know what I'm
attack
saying?
boost
So
on
now
the
I have
Thunder.
choices. I can
Yeah,
fake out the
once again,
Kyogre in
a
Extreme
lot of
Speed, which seems okay. What happens if I fake out the Kyogre in Extreme Speed? It gets a little risky, it gets a little dicey because he can go into, he can go into Groudon. Why do I feel like I Swords Dance here? I feel like I fake out Kyogre and Swords
Yeah,
Dance.
you can see why Wolf is considered one of the best players.
Oh,
in the
I actually
world
really
for
like
and why,
that.
he's
Okay,
had
so
that
fake out
title for so long.
Rayquaza,
He
fake out
never
Kyogre and
takes
Swords Dance
any
here
risks
covers,
there. He
it puts him
says,
in Extreme
"You know
Speed
what,
range, so I
I'm
don't
not
have to
gonna
worry as
allow
much about
you
my
to
Focus
get a
Sash,
potential Thunder
which is
off
actually
because I
really
know
good now
that's
that I
what's
think
gonna
about
knock
it.
out my Kyogre. Of course,
And
Thunder's
keep in
still a
mind,
little bit
okay,
shaken
here's the other
back.
thing. You guys might have forgotten. I'm sorry, this is going to be such a long video. The other thing you have to keep in mind is remember when Hitmontop switched in and immediately switched out with the eject button? That Intimidate's still on that Bronzong, so it's actually
You can
significantly
once again
weakened.
respect play from Jonathan. And Jonathan knows, okay, if somehow I can punish it, and if somehow, for some reason Wolf just
You can see him
stays
playing
in
pretty
and I can
conservative with
connect
my
that
Kyogre.
Thunder,
Like, I know I
then
can't let it go
eliminate the
down.
biggest threat, and
Or I
once
could,
again,
but I
there
need
is
I would
that
need to
Groudon
rely a
in the
lot on
background. I
Rayquaza.
would really like to see Kyogre knocked out.
Yeah, and Jonathan's Pokemon are slowly starting to get whittled down. And as we see the battle timer, I mean, I always like to check around this part of the game whenever I'm casting one of Wolf's matches.
Bronzong
just to
switches.
see
I
how
think Fake
close
Out Swords
we are
Dance is
to
my
the
play
end of
here.
time. All
Groudon comes
players
in.
still have all Pokemon right now, but that could change. And if
10
that
damage on
does, timer could become a
This is
very
turn 3 of Trick
real
Room.
win condition. Groudon will switch in for the Bronzong, wants to keep
Yep,
that
protects.
healthy. Jonathan will protect his own Kyogre here.
I agree. He can't let Kyogre get knocked out, I think, because otherwise how the heck does he beat
Rayquaza?
Fake Out Swords Dance. There we go. Okay, so like I said, at this point, what do I need my Focus Sash for? And the answer is only Kyogre Ice Beam. So if I get Rayquaza to +2 attack, I can always extreme speed Kyogre. He doesn't have Intimidate. He doesn't have any redirection, so I don't have to worry about Bronzong breaking my Focus Sash anymore. So his switch was actually really good because if he doesn't switch there, this turn I get to extreme speed and attack Bronzong, and he has to switch out one of his Pokemon or both his Pokemon in order to preserve them, and it just like wastes more turns of his Trick Room. So I agree with this play. At least he's threatening offense right now.
Yeah, I like the Sword Stance play a lot here because
he has
Rayquaza
Eruption
still
on his
is
Groudon
at
as well, by the way.
HP, and maybe it could potentially even,
Focus Sash.
right, it could potentially extreme speed knock out Kyogre. Now we're not sure about this.
So this turn, I think I don't want to switch to Hitmontop,
but a nice play there by Wolf there
because I don't want him to.
Position right now.
Why do I not want to switch to Hitmontop? I forgot.
Kyogre. Now, Jonathan.
Wait, why do I not want to switch to Hitmontop here? I think I want to save the Wide Guard, because Wide Guard Groudon or Wide Guard Hitmontop plus Kyogre beats Groudon in the range. So I think that might be why I don't want to switch. I actually don't remember. I know that, or maybe it's just that I know that there's a good chance he goes for Eruption to again try to break my Focus Sash and get some damage on my Rayquaza. So I think what I do this turn is I Endeavor and Extreme Speed.
Gyro Ball onto Rayquaza, but most likely trying to stay a little conservative, hoping that Wolf would just launch an attack off. That Sword Stance does mean, though, however, now that the Rayquaza is a much bigger threat. We only have 5 minutes left. Both trainers still have all their Pokemon, but of course,
so he could switch out here into his Kyogre going to Gengar, but I don't know how much that gets him.
Trick Room here, and of course, Kyogre and Groudon still should be able to outspeed that Rayquaza under Trick Room.
Although, of course, there is
okay, so
Extreme
Speed comes out, no Mega Evolution.
Speed will connect with Kyogre.
Does it survive?
Enough.
No!
Okay, so I just assumed in the moment that would kill. Turns out that was a roll, so thank you, Rayquaza. Very cool.
Will go down.
Yeah, I should have Mega Evolved in hindsight. He goes for P-Blades. I thought he might not. I thought he might miss, and if I get an Endeavor off here, there's a lot of damage on the Groudon, especially if he erupts. So, Raichu goes down. I figured I was in a position where I could make that kind of play. But Raichu goes down, I lose a full HP Pokemon, so I basically just have my restricteds. Both of, like, well, Kyogre has a lot of damage on it, and Hitmontop has a lot of damage on it. Hitmontop is definitely coming in here.
Raichu for a Kyogre trade.
This is such a difficult game. We only have 4 minutes left, and honestly, I would use every second I could right now, just because of the fact that it's so difficult.
I'm surprised Jonathan's still taking the full time, because he's definitely losing in total health.
This game is all about, how well you
100%.
conserve your Primal Groudon and your Primal Kyogre.
Yeah, Hitmontop coming in here puts me in a good position, because I can fake out, or feint, like I could feint the Groudon and Dragon Descent, or I can fake out the Groudon and Extreme Speed the Bronzong, or Dragon Descent the Gengar. I have a lot of options right now. The other thing that's worth noting, by the way, so Jonathan's moves are Eruption, Precipice Blades, and Fire Punch on Groudon and Protect. And the thing about that is that with Wide Guard, Groudon's only move to hit Rayquaza is Fire Punch. And so in the rain, for example, Groudon can't touch Rayquaza at all because it can only use fire moves. And it also means that with Wide Guard, I force Groudon to use Fire Punch as its only attacking move. So,
but instead he actually makes a better play there. Eruption onto that Raichu, most likely to be able to survive and then get an Endeavor off. So this Groudon is still looking really healthy. But
man, commentator's doing such a good job. Gengar comes in. I agree.
Yeah, and the
I definitely agree.
May be healthy, but Jonathan's
now this is kind of tough because I can go for Mega Evolve, Feint, and
Wolf will bring in the Hitmontop, which is also not very
Dragon Descent
right
to the
now.
Groudon, but if he switches. I mean, that's actually a pretty good play. I probably should do that, but I know I don't do that. The other kind of safer option is to fake out Groudon and Dragon Descent the Gengar.
For another Intimidate on Groudon.
It just doesn't get me a KO immediately, but I think that should be fine here.
There's so many mind games here right now because, of course, we mentioned earlier, Hitmontop and Rayquaza cannot hit the Gengar with this priority type attacks. Of course,
I think this might be the last turn of Trick
still
Room.
Is up, and that means like Gengar is going to be the slowest Pokemon.
Okay, Gengar switches out actually.
Switch out here though.
Yeah, Gengar actually going to switch out, so Bronzong will come out for Jonathan instead.
Does he protect?
Trying to just cycle Pokemon.
I Mega Evolve here. Yeah, I agree.
Go ahead and finally Mega
The idea is that you want to Mega Evolve right before Kyogre comes in, especially if they're the last Pokemon, because like I said, Groudon can't touch Rayquaza in the rain.
Impressive. Rayquaza now in its Mega Evolution will be
Should we
much
fake out the
more
Groudon?
powerful and already has that Swords Dance. Fake out does connect on Groudon,
and
so Groudon
flinch,
is going to flinch.
Dragon Descent
from
into
Rayquaza is going to connect.
Bronzong.
Is it going to be on that
Is there one
Groudon
turn of Trick Room left or not?
Bronzong on the switch in. Looks like it will be on the Bronzong.
Yep.
Groudon will stick around.
Okay, 2 to 3.
Bronzong goes down, and I believe that should be the end of Trick Room here with Gengar coming back out on the field.
Yeah, is Trick Room down? It kind of matters a lot.
So close, but I think with timer running low, Wolf definitely sees opening here in terms of advantage because it's close. I feel like you know,
So without
still is in a
timer-
really good position because he's
Wait,
got
is
that
Trick'em still up?
Kyogre in the back. And
I think Trick'em's still up.
ultimately,
I didn't see it go
I
around.
really
It
have
didn't
no
go
idea
down.
whether that extreme speed, you know, how that calculation works, but you'd imagine.
So
that
Hitmontop
it might
not
have
being
been
able to
a
switch into
damage roll
Kyogre here is
that
kind of
if
lame.
Kyogre comes in, you get the ice
Groudon
bomb off
is
against
intimidated,
Repel.
which is
That's
really good for me.
big here.
Um,
And we are coming down to the last couple of turns of this game. Of
Yeah,
course,
I don't
like you
know.
mentioned, Trick Room is over, but that Rayquaza still is at +2 attack, and that's really scary. Gengar, of course, does get access to Will-O-Wisp, which could potentially help out. But right now, if you're Groudon, you have to make the decision. What
Groudon
attack
did
do
not
I
just
go for
protect,
here?
so
Do I have enough time,
I
really,
feel like in
because
this
battle
situation, you
time is
wide
running
guard
low.
with Hitmontop and Dragon Sync
there's
Gengar.
not much time left. Looks
Or
like
again,
we
you could
may
fake
have
Dragon Sync. You
one,
can fake Dragon
maybe
Sync
two
Groudon,
more
assuming
turns
Trick'em is
after
not up.
this.
Oh my gosh, this is
And
so
Wolf has the
close.
Pokemon advantage.
Yeah, actually, I could
Jonathan
win on time
needs to make
if I
something
wanted.
happen here.
Groudon goes for
protects,
Protect.
though, so Jonathan's not going to go on the
Did I
offensive
feint?
at
I feel
all.
like I should feint. This
Groudon
is definitely the turn to
protecting
feint.
itself.
Okay,
Hitmontop.
wide guard.
Wide guard. So wide guard on Hitmontop. Good thing that Groudon protected because it wasn't going to be
Oh,
able to
Trick'em
do
was not
much
up. Okay,
anything
wait,
else.
that changes things. Okay,
Will-O-Wisp
wide guard
goes to
and
Rayquaza.
Dragon Scent to Gengar.
Would have liked to
then.
have that much
I
earlier
just missed Trick'em
on.
going
but I
down.
just don't. Dragon Ascent.
It's
will
a
protect
Gengar!
And that's it.
Gengar.
Yeah.
Wolf
So
picked
this
up
is
the
actually,
Dragon
yeah,
Ascent
that's
onto
it.
Gengar,
So
and I don't
I like wide guard and Dragon Ascent there. I figure like he would need to his only play that kind of beats that is Fire Punch into Rayquaza and protect Gengar. And then he probably doesn't win on time because I can just protect anyway, or I can like basically he would need because I am -1 defense from the first Dragon Ascent, but his Groudon's intimidated, so he would need basically Sludge Bomb to KO
think
my
there's any way that
Rayquaza.
Jonathan can pull this one off with only 1 minute 10 seconds left on the timer.
Oh, that
And
was
this,
actually an
the timer's
incredible-
going to end, but the game is over because Wide Guard and switch to Kyogre is a guaranteed win condition. I can just Wide Guard and Water Spout, and he can no longer do damage.
Incredible
So that's
game
why I
there.
saved him
mean,
on top,
yeah,
I guess.
timer is running low, but Kyogre in
Or
the
maybe it
back
was a read,
and
I don't
Hitmontop
remember.
and
Or like a
Rayquaza.
coverage
Wolf
option.
will be able to take this first game, but really well played there, and I like
He
the
does have
gamble
Will-O-Wisp.
that
Will-O-Wisp,
Jonathan
Sludge Bomb,
was always trying to go
protect,
for,
and
right?
I
Because,
don't
like,
remember if
if
it's
you
Icy
hope
Wind or
Rayquaza
Power Water.
targets the Groudon site, you get the
think it's
burn
Power
off, and
Water.
the next turn, you might actually be able to pick up a potential double knockout there. Even if Rayquaza protects, you know, there's enough time maybe for one more turn. So looking at it, actually it looked like, you know, Wolf had enough firepower there in the end.
Yeah, it
but
didn't matter.
that was a really
timer
good
doesn't
game.
matter.
And wow, you know, Wolf looks like he's going to be able to just scratch the surface and win this first game. But, you know, Jonathan proving this is not going to be easy if you want.
Yeah, that was
to
actually really
have
close.
to win it.
Rayquaza
Yeah,
Swords
and I
dancing
really
that
do
turn was
think it
really
all
big. I
came
think
down to that
the
extreme
turns
speed
where he
on Kyogre
thundered were
being
really
able to
important as
knock
well.
that Pokemon out in Trick Room. Rayquaza just took its first bit of damage here at the second to last turn of the game.
Yeah.
Jonathan just can't ignore that Rayquaza moving forward.
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to see Kyogre come back in here, and Hitmontop probably is just going to go for the wide guard.
He says
there to
something,
ensure
I don't
Groudon
respond.
can't hit both Pokemon at once,
Oops.
since at this point the game will be over at this turn.
Yep, here comes the wide guard.
Yeah,
from
like I said,
Hitmontop,
this is
and,
the guaranteed
even
win.
if
There's-
Groudon were able
the
to knock
the
out
time
one
runs
of
out,
these
but
Pokemon,
yeah, it doesn't matter.
not
Water
enough,
Spout,
as
Wide
time
Guard,
has
next turn wins the
ended,
game.
And Wolfe
And there's
Glick
there's
will
nothing
take
he
game
can do about that.
1 over Jonathan Evans, and Wolf is only one short.
So you might
game
think it's weird that
away
Jonathan ran out
from
the time there at the
becoming
end.
new
when the game was already over, but he was probably thinking about what he wanted to do this game, because as you'll see, we don't have that much time
world
between games.
champion.
Yeah, I want to say, even though the game went down to timer there, it was still really
Thank you,
well
Aaron.
executed.
Thank
Wolf
you.
actually didn't need the timer at all there at the end. All you had to do was get Kyogre in with Hitmontop, then you just go wide guard and use your water type attack, and Groudon has no way to hit the Kyogre when Rain is up and when wide guard is
I wonder actually
activated.
if you can see...
You know, that was a really good game. I thought.
my hands shaking yet?
honestly, if I think
Where are
Jonathan's
they?
Kyogre is able to get that Ice Beam off, Jonathan wins the game. And I
There they
see
are,
that
yep.
Jonathan's Kyogre is built relatively
it.
on the bulky side. Like, I think that
Basically,
must
I
have been a
knew,
high damage.
like, my hands shake when I get nervous, and so I did a bunch of stretches before the set. And maybe it hasn't happened yet.
Well, there you go.
Basically, they
If you're
start
Jonathan, you
shaking
can't
at the
feel
end of game
too
1.
demoralized. You were one play away from winning that last game.
But yeah, that last game
We'll
was
have
really
to see
close.
How Jonathan
Okay.
is able to adapt.
Oh, there.
Away from
I
winning
can see
that
it.
last game.
I
Alright,
think
we'll have to see
right
how Jonathan is
here, there, when I look down, I'm pretty sure that's where I realized my hands are shaking. I think my hands are on my legs,
able to
if I had to
adapt
guess.
going into
There we go.
game
Just fun little
2.
trivia fact. My hand shake.
Jonathan
There's your Wolfe
needs
Glick trivia.
this win, or he will go home as just the runner-up. If Wolf takes
already
this
over now, we're
game,
filming.
he will be the new world champion.
This is so big. Wolf must be able to taste it. Last time he was in the finals, he did not win either game, or you know, he went 0-2. This time Wolf is up 1-0, and he is so so close to finally achieving the goal that he's been working for so long, ever since he's...
So the game plan was only for game
you know,
1,
Jonathan
but
once
he
again
didn't do what I
made
expected
such a
game
good
1,
fight that
so I'm going to
last
do it
round.
again game 2.
He
All I told you
like,
before.
he was just one damage calc away and one maybe a low roll away from winning that one. And so this game...
Aaron's
comes
referencing
down
the
to
extreme
every
speed
turn.
KO,
Every
by
turn
the way,
matters so
on
much,
the
and that's why you see these
Kyogre.
players really thinking things through. There's just so much going on in this matchup,
music is
and
so
you
good.
cannot afford to make a big mistake. Jonathan hasn't been allowing that. Wolf has been playing super conservative and safe as well, but
Yeah, I
I'm
played
so
very
excited to see this next
conservatively.
game.
Very
Yeah,
safe.
we are going into game 2 right now. Really have to feel that the way that those players played, I would feel comfortable if I were Jonathan. I might want a little bit better of some of the rolls or maybe
Third
a
handshake?
couple of reads he could make, but
Right.
I feel pretty comfortable with how Jonathan played that game.
Absolutely. Jonathan gave an excellent show. You know, he's proving why he is in the finals of this World Championship.
The funny thing to me is that the game was really close, but the turn where I protected and endeavored, if I went for Volt Switch and Water Spout, I would have won. But I still agree with the play because if he goes Manectric, and I have no way of knowing if he has Manectric as the 4th, I would just lose.
Going to make it a difficult one for Wolf to win. So we are
Bronze
going
was
to
good
get
though.
into
Getting
this
Trick 'em
second
Up
game.
was disruptive.
Wolfe Glick is one game away from becoming your world champion. Jonathan Evans needs to win the next 2 in order to get that title.
All right, and we are going to
Same
see
leads
the
again?
exact same leads as before.
So here's the other piece of
Wolf
trivia.
Glick-
In our first set, I did the same play turn game 1 and game 2. So it's very similar. It's like, because again, I have the option of just attacking with both my Pokemon here. I can just Dragon Ascent and Origin Pulse or Water Spout, and if I get it right, I'm in good shape, honestly. So I have that option again to attack into Kyogre, but I've thought through my flowchart and I've decided that pretty much regardless of what he does, I will be in good shape if I do the same thing.
Rayquaza
So,
and Kyogre up against Jonathan.
so that's what I'm gonna do.
And Kyogre, and really interesting that they both kept these leads. I mean,
Kyogre
like I
Primal
mentioned, I think
reverse,
both players felt
evolves.
comfortable
What's
with
it
how
called?
they played, but
Does it say?
this lead
Primal
matchup still
reversion.
felt weird.
Yeah, it did, and there's so much going on already because we saw the Thunder come out from Jonathan's Kyogre in the beginning, right? And so Thunder is a big deal because it does so much damage to that Kyogre. So there's some mind games right now. Do you expect Wolf to once again switch into the Raichu? And if so, which slot?
They're
right?
covering exactly what I'm
Imagine
saying.
if Rayquaza actually switch out into Raichu, then the Thunder just gets redirected and Kyogre is just able to get a free water type attack off.
Yeah.
Gengar here, is
So
fast
I
for the
mentioned game
Kyogre.
1 that I didn't want a Water Spout because I didn't want to Origin Pulse because it can miss, and if I miss Gengar, I'm in trouble. However, I'm up a game, and I figure maybe I can take
Jonathan's
risks.
end is
So I'm gonna
slower.
Origin.
That means that
I'm gonna Origin
there
Pulse
is
this time.
potential for Wolf to just get a big water spout off, just like the last game.
Yeah, also knowing that Gengar does survive that water spout after a Sludge Bomb, though, could be very important information for Jonathan to have here.
Right.
May still feel comfortable.
That's actually really good insight by Evan. Oops, that's not what I wanted. Sorry. No. What just happened?
Groudon's not going to be able to move. Groudon's not going to take any
Come on.
damage here, but nothing else.
No.
Kyogre
Spoilers.
Being able to
Yeah.
knock that
Game
Pokemon
1.
out.
I'm sorry.
in Trick
I
Room.
don't know what the heck I did.
Break they played, but
So
very important information
Okay.
for
So what Evan just said, I think, is that knowing that Jonathan knows that if I make the same play, he has to Sludge Bomb Kyogre again because otherwise he will lose his Gengar if I Water Spout again. So I guess knowing that, maybe I could have played a little more aggressively, but
may still feel comfortable.
I would,
with
there's a lot of
Kyogre,
pressure up on that
even
stage,
just
so I was gonna go with
for,
what I'd planned.
like an Ice Beam on that Rayquaza instead of the Thunder onto the Kyogre.
yeah, absolutely, and there's so much because if Wolf maybe just decides, okay, I'm just gonna stay in with Rayquaza, I don't think that he's going to go for an Ice Beam because he might predict the Raichu switch and go for a Water type attack. Then Rayquaza could maybe get a Sword Stance off. Obviously a little bit risky. Let's see if Wolf switches out. He does go for the switch out.
Yeah,
I look at
Wolf
his
is
face.
going to switch out the Rayquaza once
He says,
again,
I remember
and it
this.
will be the Raichu for the second game
is it?
in a row. Did Jonathan fall for the same trap here?
Let's see.
His
Oh, yes.
Pokemon are looking around, so Gengar
He's nodding.
and
There. He says something along the lines. I don't remember it exactly, but he says something like, "You must like." It was either like, "You must think I'm pretty stupid," or "You don't respect me at all, huh?" So something like that. Because he thought that I was reading a Thunder when that wasn't what I was doing at all. I was just covering the option.
Mega
So
Evolution
he makes a good
Sludge
play.
Bomb
He goes for
will
Sludge
connect
Bomb.
with the Kyogre. So
It's a huge
far,
bomb.
It is a repeat
He
from
actually
game
gets a
one, but
poison.
There is a
He
poison
pops
that
off.
could be a big deal in this matchup.
And I'm gonna pop
that
off. Watch
small
this.
little bit of extra chip
Oh, wait, I
damage.
nodded. Maybe that was the
Origin Pulse
pop-off.
from Wolf not going for the water
think the nod
spout
might have
now
been
that he
pop-off,
knows that he
actually.
might get attacked here.
Okay, bigger nod.
KO onto Gengar.
So Gengar gets KO'd. Turns out that's a roll. I think the roll was left less than 50%. But we'll take it.
So
Thank you,
Gengar will go
Kyogre.
down to the
That's
Origin
huge, though.
Pulse.
Getting the KO there
Origin
means
Pulse
that the
coming
trapping
back
is
out
no longer in
from
play. And the
Jonathan.
other thing that's worth
Kyogre
noting here
will
is
deal
that,
a good amount
so
of damage
how
to
is this
the
different than
Raichu,
game
but
1?
I'm
First of
pretty sure
all,
we've seen it
my
survive
Kyogre
that.
has a
Yep.
ton of
Seen
damage.
that
And
survive
keep
that
in mind, I do kind of need my Kyogre to beat his Groudon. So this is a problem. The other dynamic at play here, though, is that my Raichu is alive and has a lot of damage on it. And as we saw in Game 1, it has Endeavor, and now it outspeeds his entire team. So that was a crucial KO. That changed a lot.
As well, though.
Yeah, very heavy trade-off there in terms of damage. This time Mega Gengar does go down, but if I'm Jonathan, I'm probably
He does a lot of
okay
damage. That's a
about
ton
that,
of damage turn
However,
1.
the one thing you do have to be really scared of is the Endeavor from Raichu. Even though that
Man,
damage
these commentators
is nice,
they're
Raichu's
saying
such a
everything
fast
I'm
Pokemon,
saying.
can just
You guys would
Endeavor
probably just
and
watch this
combo
without
with a
me,
Kyogre attack.
honestly.
Now, if Jonathan's Kyogre was faster, then you maybe feel pretty good about your position because an Origin Pulse can potentially pick up a double knockout. But this is still really, really scary for Jonathan because
I think it goes Groudon here.
We've seen the Bronzong, we've seen the Groudon, and he's probably going to want to bring one of those two. I'm guessing that Jonathan isn't going to change too much in terms of the Pokemon that he's been using here.
He goes Groudon, but why do I do what I do?
That Endeavor is
trying to remember.
so frightening. Just coming out from that.
Yeah, Raichu has probably like
out either the Kyogre, even the Bronzong
30
may
health
not
left
be able
or
to get
something,
set
maybe
up
60.
if
I
it
don't
can
know.
get
There's
Endeavor
no
plus
less than 60.
Origin
He goes
Pulse.
Groudon.
And here's the Groudon.
So let's talk about the
This
position.
is really, really scary because Raichu has the ability to Endeavor either Pokemon. Now, the one
So
good thing
Endeavor
about
here
this
is a big
that
deal.
if you
So
Endeavor the
there's
Kyogre,
kind of
you
two
don't-
things that I feel like could happen here. The first is that I expect Groudon to not protect itself, and so I go for an Endeavor into so I would Volt Switch the Kyogre or just Hard Switch Kyogre and go into Rayquaza and get a Water move off. It's just a weird position because and I agree with Jonathan's play because he's put me in a position where I don't have any safe moves because I can only Endeavor one. I can only basically KO one Pokemon or put KO pressure on one Pokemon. And that's a problem because I have to make a read here. So if let's say he went into Bronzong there, then I say, okay, well, I know you can't protect your Bronzong, so I'm just gonna Endeavor it, or I can make a read and say, okay, like I'm gonna Endeavor your Kyogre because if you get it wrong, you lose. So I can Endeavor and Water Spout in that situation, or Endeavor and switch to Hitmontop. Like I have options basically. The other interesting thing is that. Well, basically what he does is he says, okay, well, you could KO my Groudon with Origin Pulse and switch to Rayquaza, or you could chunk my Kyogre with Endeavor, or you could make a middle ground play if I don't protect either and go for Volt Switch Kyogre and Origin Pulse and, try and get damage on both. But you have to choose basically one Pokemon who you're going to smack. And so what I'm thinking in this position, I think, is it's so obvious to go after Groudon, so I don't want to do it, first of all. And the other reason I don't want to do it is because if I get an Endeavor on Kyogre, I put it into range of Extreme Speed, and if I get it into range of Extreme Speed, then my Rayquaza probably can beat his Groudon in a 1-1 with Hitmontop in the back. So, yeah, Sun comes up.
So, there's the Endeavor play possible, but of course Wolfe's shown that he loves switching out. He's been switching out so often in this game.
And Kyogre's still alive, so I can still save it.
Or the Rayquaza. Really feels
the
like
question is, who does Kyogre switch into here?
In this matchup, he feels like those are the best 4 Pokemon.
Do I go into Hitmontop?
So we'll see how
I think I go into Hitmontop. I don't want to let Rayquaza take damage.
And basically pick up a knockout before any of his primals take too much damage.
And I think this next turn is not this one, but the one after is where I make a mistake.
Yeah,
let's see.
Really going to be interesting here. Of course, the Sun is up now, but we do know that Rayquaza is in the back and can eliminate the Sun.
The other thing is I don't remember if Raichu's in Ice Beam range. It looks like it is, but I'm not positive.
Absolutely not. This is an incredible World Finals. I've been really impressed by the play from both sides, and it's a shame that only one of these players will be able to call themselves World Champion at the end of the set. But let's see how this next turn plays out. This is going to be a big one depending on what Raichu does, whether it attacks or switches out.
All right, well, Kyogre is
should be him on
switch
top.
Out, so Kyogre will switch out. Raichu not going to be able to deal damage.
Don't want Rayquaza's Focus Sash to get broken.
KOs here, maybe able to Endeavor something down.
And as I recall, Groudon actually switches out here.
And the Kyogre, more importantly, getting the Intimidator.
Yeah, so that allows Jonathan to go for a Water type attack.
Going to switch his Groudon out as well.
Which is relevant.
Is this Raichu going to go for
Who did I Endeavor? I feel like I Endeavored Kyogre, but now I'm not sure.
Go for a Volt Switch. Bronzong
Endeavor comes out into the Kyogre. Okay, I agree. How much health?
Kyogre takes
37,
a lot of
okay.
damage, but
Origin Pulse connects, so if he misses an Origin Pulse there, he definitely loses, but he hits both. And here's where I made a mistake, everybody. Here's where I made a mistake. So Raichu's going to switch out into Rayquaza.
Yeah, and at first I was like,
Hitmontop's
oh,
going to switch out into Rayquaza.
The Kyogre, that's such a good target down. But the fact now is that Bronzong is still at full HP, and
for some reason, I thought that his Kyogre was in range of an Origin Pulse. And this is like, because you can't see the health right now. And I was like, or of a Water Spout. I was like, I don't have much HP. His Kyogre's super low. It's probably in range of a Water Spout. So I can Water Spout Swords Dance and then get plus to Rayquaza and win the game from there, right? Wrong. Wrong. If I go Hitmontop here, I can fake out Kyogre and Swords Dance and feel like it'd be in a good position, like probably win the game, etc., etc. But however, I made a mistake. I made a big mistake by forgetting, by not realizing that his Kyogre is not in. And here's the thing, it probably is in Water Spout Origin Pulse range. I forget about the airlock right here. I'm like, oh, like, I can just Water Spout safely and Swords Dance, and I'll get some damage on
could still
both.
bring back the Hitmontop here.
But
to
the thing
pick
is
up
that the stupid
the
airlock,
fainted
well, not
right
the airlock
shield.
is not stupid,
And
but the
from
airlock
that
is up, and so my
takeout
power is
pressure
much
on
weaker than I
Bronzong, of
remember.
course, potentially leaving the Rayquaza vulnerable.
So I'm
but
thinking
we
about it,
already
and I'm
know
thinking
that
about it, I'm
with that
thinking about it.
Endeavor, Extreme Speed should be able to pick this up without
Right.
the sword stance.
And that's why the priority is so good. You know, you would think, oh, Jonathan,
I go
he just sets
Kyogre.
up Trick Room, he's in such a
Right.
prime position to
Now?
win this one, but that's not
In a
necessarily
second.
the case.
Yeah,
The sword
and that,
stance
and I
is
realized
such
immediately,
a
I realized right away that his
powerful
Kyogre is more
so
health
much
than I
damage.
realized, or I'm
We
not as
saw that he was
confident in the
able to
damage.
just
Because
get
again, if I
that
miss an
Kyogre
Origin
in
Pulse on the
regular
Kyogre,
Rayquaza
I'm
from
actually
the
not even
last
sure if it
game,
KOs,
so
because I wasn't that
much
offensive on
strength coming out
Kyogre.
from there, and the scary thing here is I think Jonathan's going to want to set up Trick Room, but does he have enough firepower, right? Because Groudon and Bronzong can't really hit Rayquaza
comes in.
hard.
All right, well, Kyogre is going to be the switch in for
I don't
Wolf.
take poison
Just
because it
wants
wasn't the
to have
Raichu
all
switch,
that
or it wasn't the
offensive
Hitmontop switch, it was the
pressure
Raichu
just
switch.
in case,
And I
Bronzong-
see
just in case needs
he
to be
has
able to
too much
knock out
health.
that
I
Bronzong
can't safely
before
Water
he
Spout,
set
it
up
won't
Trick
KO.
Room.
And Origin Pulse is
Kyogre,
not
of
safe.
course,
If I miss,
is
do I want to
poisoned.
lose the World Championships
Both
because I missed an
players
Origin
at
Pulse?
3
Not
Pokemon.
particularly, right?
Very
So
likely that
I'm
Jonathan's
not
going to
in
wanna preserve
amazing
his
shape
Kyogre,
in
trying to
actuality
get into a
because
better position.
yeah,
but
because I bought in
now
Kyogre
the
here.
safe
Again,
switch
Hitmontop and
because
Fake Out
that
Swords Dance
Rayquaza
probably would
on
want me
the
the
field.
game.
Yeah, I guess what's really tricky here for Jonathan is
but I
that,
didn't do that.
oh, you know,
Oops.
the Kyogre is so heavily damaged, and Kyogre is the main Pokemon that you want to use on this team to damage Rayquaza with its super effective Ice Beam. Bronzong and Groudon have Gyro Ball and Fire-type attacks, but that's practically
And Trick Room
it.
is
We
not
haven't
up
seen
yet, so I
a
still have to
grab
get through this
from
Trick Room. Like
Bronzong
Kyogre,
either,
if
so
there
that
was like
makes it really
Kyogre
difficult.
versus Groudon
Rayquaza's
Bronzong, and
just
I had a
such
little
a
damage in
great
Bronzong, I could
reason
just
why,
Origin
there's
Pulse
always a
and
pressure
win.
constantly around
But
it.
yeah, I realized that
Well,
I have
Wolf
made a
is
mistake,
going
and I
to
have to switch
retreat
Hitmontop
to
out, which
Kyogre
is bad for a
the
number of
Hitmontop.
reasons.
Gets the Intimidate
It's
off
bad because I
onto
don't get the Intimidate on the
Bronzong
Groudon. I
and
have to use
Kyogre,
it
and
now
Wolf
on the
have
Bronzong
fake out
instead,
pressure for the
which is not
next
amazing.
turn. Intimidate
Bronzong's
onto
minus 2
both
now,
those
I believe.
Pokemon.
Let's think about that. Bronzong, when did Hitmontop switch in last? Yeah, wait. Yes. Wait. No. No, it's not. It's only minus
just
1.
going for the
Wait, is it minus 1? Wait. Because Kyogre switched out into Hitmontop, Groudon switched out into Bronzong, and then I Endeavored. Yep, that
offense.
makes
A
sense.
Dragon Ascent, no protects coming out from Jonathan's Pokemon.
And for some
On
reason I
to
Dragon
Kyogre,
Ascent
so
here
will
instead of
be able
Extreme
to knock
Speed.
out Kyogre with
I think that was
Dragon
another
Ascent.
mistake. I think
Drops
it's,
some of the
I think I
defenses
wasn't
as
confident Extreme
well.
Speed would kill
And Kyogre
because I
will
wasn't.
go
I wouldn't
down
want to Mega
Bronzong,
Evolve. So
likely going for a Trick
what
Room here.
looked
I
like a
think if
great
there's
position
no
for me, where I
Trick
could have
Room,
gone for a
there's
Fake
no
Out and
way
Swords
for
Dance and won
Jonathan
the
to
game.
bring
I'm
this
now at
back.
minus 1
Does
defense
go
on
for
my
the Trick Room, and
Rayquaza,
now
which is a big
Bronzong
deal.
versus Groudon.
And he has
are going
4
to
turns
have
left
to
in
be
Trick
able
Room to win this game.
Hitmontop, Rayquaza, and Kyogre.
Oh man, so Wolf opting not to go for a Sword Stance, nor did he Mega Evolve the Rayquaza there.
So I
and
haven't
it's
Mega
such a
Evolved because I want to
strong
overwrite the
monster
Sun.
that actually makes such
Like I
big
mentioned,
difference in matchups like this. By not Mega Evolving Rayquaza.
Rayquaza does not take damage from Groudon in the sun, or in the rain. So I wanted to delay my Mega Evolution so that I could switch in Kyogre and Dragon Ascent
So first of
from
all,
there.
you're a little bit slower, so that could help.
He goes
potentially.
Groudon here,
This
and
matchup
now I
is
realize
this
I'm kind of in a
matchup.
rough
The
spot.
main point is that you still conserve your airlock and the ability to Mega Evolve at any point.
I'm kind of in a rough
to
spot.
stream up.
Not going to lie, because he
This
can
is
go
so
Groudon here,
intense. Once
and
again,
I do
it
have
feels like
Fake Out
Wolf just
pressure.
has a slight advantage, but one, like that
Yep,
last
but
game is-
Trick Room could be the
But because
biggest
I've dropped my
argument
defenses
here.
now, like
Having the
I'm in,
Groudon
like
and
I take a lot
Bronzong.
more damage than I would like to, and Bronzong has Skill Swap as well.
That
So
Kyogre is so
and it
weak
might have
in
Gravity. I
its
don't
poison.
remember.
Hitmontop
Skull Swap,
is
Trick Room,
very
Gyro Ball.
low.
I don't remember his
Rayquaza
Gravity.
still at full health.
But I think it
but
was Safeguard for some
Bronzong
reason.
and Groudon may be able to just deal with its partners before Rayquaza can deal.
Because
too much
Kyogre is
back.
such low health.
Right, and we know that Rayquaza is already at
And
minus
here's
1
the
defense and
turn.
special defense from
For
that
those of you who
Dragon
haven't
Ascent.
seen this
So Groudon
turn,
is going to come back in.
well,
You know, Bronzong and
you're about
Groudon
to.
are two really good Pokemon to have in the late game of any
Let's
match.
talk about this. We're almost done. Let's talk about this. I'm in a position where I can fake out one of these Pokemon. If I fake out Bronzong, then Groudon can erupt and it can KO both my Pokemon. If I fake out Groudon, I take a Gyro Ball and -1 defense, and like I probably get put in range of more attacks. But I keep my Hitmontop alive basically. If I fake out, so basically I have a choice here. In my head, what I think to myself is, all right, let's say Groudon goes, let's say I fake up Bronzong. I'm also not sure how much Gyro Ball will do because it's only intimidated once, and I have dropped my defenses. So it's like a neutral, pretty powerful power move against Groudon, who is not intimidated, but I'm removing the sun, and even though I'm dropped defenses, I think I take less from Groudon. So I think to myself, okay, if I go fake out into Bronzong and Swords Dance, Mega Evolve Swords Dance here, most likely I lose Hitmontop, I get like 30 to 40% on Rayquaza, and then I go Kyogre and the Primal Rain is up. This allows me to go for Protect Kyogre and Dragon Ascent into Groudon, and then I can probably win with just Kyogre and Rayquaza in the end game there. But I forgot about Skill Swap, and that's why my plan doesn't work. So if Jonathan that next turn, if I go fake out Bronzong Swords Dance, he KOs my Hitmontop. I assumed he would go for like Eruption or Gyro Ball into my Rayquaza. I just didn't consider Skill Swap. If he goes for Skill Swap this next turn, after it's Kyogre Rayquaza against against Groudon and Bronzong. Sure, I get the Dragon Ascent onto Groudon. I probably don't knock it out, but I put it in a range of Extreme Speed. But my Kyogre, because of the poison, can never beat the Primordial, the Desolate Land Bronzong. So I would lose this. So but basically.
Here, but the issue here is that Jonathan.
So basically, this is a bad spot. This is all because of my misplay a couple turns ago.
Of course, there is the skill swap potential as well. So
Aaron talks about skill swap. He considers something that I am not really
one of the
thinking
nice
about.
things is because Rayquaza didn't go for anything like a Swords Dance, it's still just sitting at neutral attack.
Yeah, and
which
I
is
dropped
why
my
I like to play
defenses.
like
The other
Jonathan
option here is I could fake out
okay, if you're Rayquaza Swords Dance,
I could fake out the
it's not
Groudon and switch to
gonna be
Kyogre. That's an option as well. But the thing is, Kyogre is such low health, and with the poison, like I don't think I can bring it in here.
So much damage. If you get the attack off, then I get
the poison ends up
switch
making a
into
big deal
my
here.
Groudon,
Being a big
and
deal
I'm
here.
still in a pretty good position because you can't do too much damage. But of course, we did see Hitmontop switch in last turn, so there is that fake out pressure.
Oh man, it's all coming down to these last two Pokemon for Jonathan. Jonathan Evan.
And here's the turn. I'm not even gonna say anything. Just listen.
These two Pokemon, this Bronzong and this Groudon, to come up huge in this match, or else he will go home as only the runner-up, and Wolf will be your new world champion. Rayquaza does.
Oh, this
Mega
could be the
Evolve
turn.
If it gets the damage off, it may be what makes Wolf the world champion. Rayquaza's Delta Stream now out on the field. Groudon protects.
Oh,
watch
whoa.
camera.
What did Wolf do? Did Wolf attack that Groudon? Hitmontop goes for the fake out onto the Bronzong.
Nice.
So Bronzong's not going to be able to move. Groudon's not going to take any damage here, but nothing else.
Oh, he
Swords
calls
Dance.
it!
Oh, he went for the Swords Dance.
It's so good.
Can't
Most people don't
play
realize.
passive against Wolf, or he will just set up in your face.
Oh,
So that's the turn. That's probably the most famous turn in my Pokemon career. Though truthfully, I don't know. I've done cooler stuff, but that's a crucial moment. Jonathan is afraid that I'm gonna go for Fake Out into Groudon and Dragon Scent into Groudon there, so he goes for Protect. It looks like a really flashy play. It looks like a hard read. Again, it wasn't a read. I was just trying to cover options. I figured I could. I incorrectly assumed that if I Fake Out at Bronzong, I lose him on top, I get a Swords Dance off, I might be able to win the game with just what I have left. This is not true. I can't win the game with what I have left, as it turns out. But I don't realize that. So I made a bad play, but it turned out well for me, and it looks really flashy. It looks like I made a hard read. That's not the case. Now the whole situation is different because I've got boosted Rayquaza, and I didn't lose a Pokemon this turn. So if I want, I can go into Kyogre and get the Rain up because Groudon just protected itself, so it cannot protect itself again. I can feint the Groudon if I want, but I am still worried about taking too much damage here, so I have a pretty safe Dragon Ascent into Groudon and just switch into Kyogre. If he presses his blades, he can KO my Kyogre, which is what I expect him to do here. However, I think that with Hitmontop and Extreme Speed Pressure and Feint Pressure, I can probably win this game with just +2 Rayquaza and Close Combat Hitmontop. So, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to switch my Hitmontop into Kyogre to ensure that my Rayquaza guaranteed does not get KO'd here. And the intention is to sack my Kyogre to get Hitmontop back in so I can Fake Out Extreme Speed and then Feint Extreme Speed or Feint Dragon Ascent into Groudon, depending on how much my first Dragon Ascent does, and then win the game from there.
oh my
And now that
gosh!
Rayquaza is back to being the monster threat.
So that turn
That
changes
might
things a
have just
lot.
won Wolfe Glick the World Championship. Jonathan there had the potential to go for an Eruption. You get that Eruption off, you knock out Hitmontop. Rayquaza takes a good amount of damage because of its reduced defenses. Kyogre comes back in. And then
Gyro
you could
Ball would even be dealing a lot of damage.
Exactly, and then you could skill swap there. So Wolf going all in on that raid. He knows I'm already up one game. I can risk this. I'm gonna go for it, and he gets it. He doesn't
That was
lose
almost
anything
very
from
bad.
that turn.
It was almost
and
very bad.
Oh my gosh, this is going to be an uphill battle if Jonathan Evans wants to win
Yeah,
this
so that
one.
changes the
With
momentum
that
a
Swords
lot
Dance,
of this
it's likely
match.
like Groudon could even go down to a Dragon Ascent right now.
Yeah, Wolf really punishing that passive play on Jonathan's part. Hitmontop will switch out for
So he reads this, he reads Kyogre
Kyogre going to
in,
make sure that
but I
no
wanted
fire
Kyogre
type
to go down
abilities
here.
can be used
That
so
was
that
the goal.
protects Rayquaza
it resets my
entirely
Intimidate.
from the Groudon.
Oh, here
Goes
we
for
go.
Gyro Ball.
Seal on-
He
see
could
on
have
the
read that
field.
with a skill
Gyro
swap and
Ball
Eruption.
from
That wouldn't have been a terrible
Bronzong
play, actually. Actually, that might have been
with
good.
the Rayquaza.
Although I'm not
will
sure
be
it would've
dealing
helped,
damage,
'cause he
but
just
it's
doesn't
not
do that
enough.
damage. He goes for
Aggressive
P-Blades.
displays doesn't hit the Rayquaza.
He misses his first one of the set. Frankly, I'm bummed about that as well, if you look at my reaction, because I really want Kyogre to go down there. Oh, I know. Maybe I'm not bummed.
Dragon Ascent from Rayquaza after his friend Kyogre avoids
He
the
said something to me, I
Precipice, the
respond,
Dragon
so
Ascent
I don't know
coming
what
out
he said.
from the galaxy.
Does it knock it out?
Hangs on.
No!
I'm not sure if that's in
Gets
Feint
around
range.
with
Feint is pretty
13
weak.
hit points, surviving that cosmic assault. Rayquaza taking a
needs
little
more
bit
poison
more of
damage.
its defenses drop. Kyogre taking a little bit more damage from the poison. But Groudon now well within extreme speed range, maybe even fake out range from that Hitmontop in
Keep
the
in mind,
back.
This
Bronzong's
was
now
so
-2
close, and I
attack.
think that And you know,
It's getting
Jonathan
weaker every
probably
turn.
going for the
Or is it
protector with
-1?
Groudon because he
Oh, I
fears
think
the
it's
fake out
-1
and the
actually, but
Dragon
it's about to
Ascent
be-
target.
sorry,
But I
-2 at
think
the
it
end
would
of
have
this
made
turn,
more
I think.
sense for Groudon maybe to just go for an attack because you know the Dragon Ascent won't do that much damage to that point. So that was the game-defining play there. Wolf was able to get that free Sword Dance off, and that's why this team is always such a threat. Wolf must be able to taste the World Championship right now. He's so close. It's not over yet, though. It's not over for Jonathan, but it is so close. Oh, here's the Kyogre switch
switches
out.
out.
That's
Yeah,
gonna be able to
Hitmontop
get
goes back in,
another
get another
Intimidate
Intimidate
off.
off.
Intimidate. The Gyro Ball's not going to be dealing enough
I expect him to go
damage
for another
from
Precious Blade
Bronzong
or Protect,
without
but I
a
really want to
critical
Hitmontop
hit.
back on the field to
And
protect my
Groudon here
Rayquaza.
has to protect itself.
The thing is here that I can Extreme Speed into a Groudon, and in the worst case scenario, which is like a crit, I still have Fake Out plus Origin Pulse next turn, which probably will do
if
enough.
Jonathan's going to have any
So that's why
hope
Hitmontop's
of
just in
taking
there.
this back,
Groudon
Groudon
protects
goes
itself.
to the Protect.
I go for Extreme Speed even though it's
Rayquaza
obvious because
will go
I just
for an
couldn't
attack
risk
here.
losing the
Extreme
game on
speed
like
into
a
the
hard
Protect.
read.
Here comes the Gyro Ball.
He needs a crit here.
Bronzong needs this crit. Connects with the Rayquaza. Deals a lot of damage.
Hangs on though, and that's the other reason I brought him on top to make sure I survive
And
with the Gyro
at
Ball.
this point-
If he crits there, like I said, like it's not the end of the game. I do live a Gyro Ball, I'm pretty sure, with Kyogre, so I can Fake Out into Groudon, get the KO, and as long as I hit an Origin Pulse, I
But,
think
you
I
know,
can
first
win.
of all, once again, time is running solo. But second of all, Hitmontop gets access to Fake Out. It also gets access to Feint, so you could Feint here.
I don't think Fake KO.
You know,
it's
this
gonna be
could
close.
maybe
It's a
actually come
very
down to
weak game.
timers
It might
still
KO. It's got
because, you know,
super low health.
Rayquaza, Hitmontop,
I'm
and
actually
Kyogre are
curious.
all heavily damaged. You could Fake Out Bronzong here and go for, I guess, an Extreme Speed onto Groudon. If you protect the Groudon there,
If
you know,
you have
block.
Feint, you have to use it.
That would be great to see here. You know, Fake Out onto Bronzong. Bronzong is the main means of offense right now. Oh, we're getting so close to it. These games have been
I like
so
this is
close.
Bronzong as the main means of offense because it's true, but it's just like
and
bizarre
that's really
in a
what's
restricted
been
format.
keeping
And
him in this
Bronzong's
one.
-2.
Jonathan being so close.
He goes for the
Here's
double, he
protect.
fails.
Oh, he
Went for the
failed.
double protect.
He wouldn't
not
need a
enough.
triple most
Hitmontop
likely.
just goes for the
Or
Fake Out
some other
onto
luck.
Bronzong.
Yeah.
And with
And
that double protect
Extreme Speed take
fail,
to the Groudon.
Extreme Speed will connect, pick up the Groudon.
And I think
Bronzong
Trickerman's
is not
this
going
turn.
to be enough against this Hitmontop and not going to be enough against this Mega Rayquaza. Bronzong
Yep, okay,
flinches,
now, yeah,
can't do
it's
anything, and Trick Room
it's just over.
ends. Additionally, 3 Pokemon left for Wolf. Only the Bronzong left for Jonathan.
Yeah.
Wolfe Glick must
And
be
that's
able
it,
to taste that
pretty
World
much.
Championship.
Well, it's almost
so
it.
he is a minute and 37 seconds away.
Yeah, and it may end even before that. All he's got to do is just attack with all
Plus
of his
your Dragon
Pokemon
Ascent's
right now.
very strong, by
Bronzong
the way.
has no
Doesn't
way
do
to
a lot of
protect
damage.
himself. Dragon Ascent
60
coming
to
from that
50.
plus 2 Rayquaza.
Can you 60,
Going to
60?
target down that Bronzong. Bronzong cannot knock out enough
like
Pokemon right now. This was actually
Tanked
one of
it
the
pretty well.
This was one of the best Master Division finals I've ever seen.
And Hitmontop with the close combat
So,
onto
okay, one thing I
Bronzong.
want to note here, I know this video is way longer than expected, but the last thing I want to talk about here is that in 2012, when I lost in the World Championship Finals, I misclicked. There was a Tyranitar and a Cresselia. I used Close Combat with my Hitmontop. My Hitmontop used Close Combat. I meant to hit Tyranitar. I hit Cresselia. And something I think Randy Quah said was that, like, it's fitting, or maybe he said if you, like, he wouldn't have believed that in the end, like, I close combated another Psychic type to win this World's Finals. There's close combat into my Psychic
Also
type
not enough.
of my World's Finals.
Jonathan just
with my
hanging
Hitmontop.
in there by a sliver.
And he will take out Rayquaza
Bronzong's
here, but
Gyro
it's
Ball
not
will
enough.
finally be able to pick up the knockout onto the Mega Rayquaza. But with Hitmontop and Kyogre and no Trick Room, that is going to be it for Jonathan.
It is, but, you know, it wasn't
It was a
a
good
0-2.
set. It was very close.
These were close.
But this easily could have been a 2-0. I am so impressed by Jonathan's level of play here. Seems like there was just maybe one prediction like he wasn't able to get. It
Yeah,
wasn't even maybe
that's it.
slightly
We'll watch it to
like
the end.
misplay isn't a good way to call it. It's more of just a prediction that Wolfie was able to
And I'm
nail.
glad he didn't let it
This
go.
game
Yeah,
was
there
won by
it
Wolf.
is.
And here's the water spout. Wolfe Glick is your 2016
Fourth
Pokemon
handshake. There we go. But
video
that one-
game world champion
that one
in
makes
the
sense.
Masters Division.
Finally, Wolfe Glick gets to lift the first place trophy, not the runner-up, and his fans are going wild in the crowd.
Just look at him.
Drink it in.
So happy.
Just drink it in.
And this is amazing, Evan. If we just look at the stories of every World Championship,
Oh, watch this, watch
it
this,
seems
watch
like
this, watch
every
this, watch
year
this,
there's
watch
that
this.
one player who's worked so
I dropped
hard,
the pen.
who hasn't been able to do it, and finally gets it. In 2014, it was Sejong Park, who had top cut the previous World Championships, but wasn't able to win the World Championships, and finally
Kinda
did
just
it
like
with his
BM to
trusty
put the camera on the-
Pachirisu.
on the
Last
loser.
year, it was Shoma Honami from Japan, who had been
Like,
one of
come on,
Japan's
camera
top
guy.
players for so many years, but just was never able to get to the World Championships. He last year was able to
what's
make
left.
it to Worlds, and he proved himself
win.
on a stage.
Okay, so I think that's it. Yeah, so that's the story of how I won the World Championships. Like I said, I've been trying that was my 6th attempt. It's something that was really important to me. It was a goal that I had for many years. It's something I really cared about. And yeah, that said, in that game, I'm glad I got to share that with you all because it's a very important moment in my life, frankly. And yeah, it was a very close set. It came down to a couple things. Like, I got some good damage rolls. Like, I got a little lucky. It didn't seem that way, but the extreme speed on the Kyogre game 1 and then the Origin Pulse in the Gengar game 2, both were pretty, like, they were rolls. So there was a chance that this whole set could have gone differently, and I could have gone home as, second place again. So I did get some luck there, and also in the plays that happened, like, both games were really close. So yeah. So I think that's pretty much it. Like I said, this was a huge deal for me. I was happy for like 3 or 4 months after this, like just because of this. I felt so good. And yeah, like I had so many people supporting me, and I was really it meant a lot that I was able to kind of fulfill my promises to Justin and to Marcus, and to everyone who was believing in me, and who I wanted to win. I guess the very last thing I'll say is that 2015, it was me, Billa, Marcus, and I think DeFlo, and maybe Masi, I don't remember. And we had just watched like how Japan destroyed the World Championships that year, and somebody, I think it was Billa, said, "Hey, next year, it's going to be one of us. Like, one of us is going to win the World Championships." And we were like, "Okay, yeah, we promise." And then, yeah, we did it. So, that's kind of the craziest thing to me as well, is that a year before we promised that, one of us would do it, and Billa got top 8 and Marcus got top 4, and I won. So, yeah, I could probably talk about this for a couple more hours if I wanted, but I'm sure that lots of people have already stopped watching this video. So, yeah, I think that's it. 1 hour, 30-minute video. This is a long one for me. It's a very long one for me, but I hope you enjoyed. I wanted to go in depth. It's my story after all, so I get to tell it how I want. But yeah, my throat hurts a lot. I'm gonna go drink some water. I hope you guys are staying safe, and yeah, I'll see you tomorrow for the next video. Goodbye.